events that took place in the last 8 months, and Agnipath, or the new human resource management philosophy, I think was an important component of all this. I also alluded to the events outside India that have impacted us in one way or another. In all this, what has been our prime concern or focus area has been to maintain the desired level of operational readiness at all times. And I am satisfied and happy to say that both along the LC, along the LAC, as well as in the hinterland, I think our soldiers have done this well. And that is manifested in the improved IS situation, which I alluded to some time back. My focus has also been on modernization and technology infusion, which I highlighted as one of the pillars of the transformation that we are seeking to undertake. The 4-5 pillars of transformation that I mentioned in my opening remarks is an area that we have paid special attention to, and we have made a clear roadmap with timelines and laying down clear responsibility as to who is to do what and how is this whole system going to be monitored.
After West Bengal, now Andhra Pradesh, Vande Bharat Express attacked in Visakhapatnam.
धर्म जाति में नीति के लोग विद्या पा करके जहरीला हो जाते हैं, कैसा? जैसा कि दूध पीने के बाद साफ हो जाता है।
Bihar Education Minister insults Hindus, says Ramcharitmanas spreads hatred. Big controversy breaks out over Bihar Education Minister's Hindu insult. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's mega visit to Polbang, Karnataka, Prime Minister to inaugurate key events. Delhi hit and run case in court today to hear accused's bail plea.
ये कहानी 1947 में जाती है सर। एक नया मुल्क बनता है पाकिस्तान। जो ऑफिसर्स हैं इंडियन आर्मी में, उनको ये बोला जाता है कि आप चूज करें आप कहां पे जाना चाहते हैं।
मेरे पिताजी जनरल सैयद मेहदी हसनैन उस वक्त कैप्टन जब आर्मी के अंदर आए थे तो फर्स्ट गढ़वाल राइफल्स में आए। प्योर हिंदू सोल्जर्स कम्युनिटी जो थी पूरी, उसमें एक अकेला मुसलमान। उनके कमांडिंग ऑफिसर ने उनसे पूछा, बंटवारे के अंदर आप क्या चाहेंगे, किसी मुस्लिम यूनिट के साथ, मुस्लिम रेजिमेंट के साथ पाकिस्तान आर्मी में जाने की? जवाब जो था बहुत जबरदस्त। मैंने सोच लिया मैं उस देश में जाऊंगा, मैं उस फौज में जाऊंगा जिसमें मजहब के लिए कोई अलग जगह नहीं है।
And here's a look at what else is making news this morning. In an interview to the RSS mouthpiece organizer and the Panchjanya, Mohan Bhagwat has said that Muslims have nothing to fear in India, but they must abandon their boisterous rhetoric of supremacy. While responding to Bhagwat's interview, the AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi said that Bhagwat must not preach, and it is Bhagwat who is furthering the Hindu supremacist narrative.
हिटलर को भी बड़ा अपना यकीन था अपनी आर्यन रेस और सुपरमेसी का, और इसीलिए आप देखते हैं कि आरएसएस जो है शुरू से इस बात का डिमांड कर रही है कि भारत में जो फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर है उस कंट्री का, उसको खत्म कर दिया जाए।
The former Minority Affairs Minister and senior BJP leader Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi has hailed the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat's remarks on Muslims and said the spirit of partnership and not the battle to dominate leads to the path of development.
इस देश में आप दुनिया में रहने वाले 10 मुसलमानों में से एक मुसलमान हिंदुस्तान में रहता है। उसके सामाजिक, आर्थिक, शैक्षणिक, धार्मिक अधिकार पूरी तरह से महफूज भी हैं और मजबूत भी हैं, सुरक्षित भी हैं और सिक्योर्ड भी हैं। लेकिन वो दिक्कत
what we are doing for induction of niche technologies and the status on the AK-203 program. I mentioned initially leveraging the niche technologies is extremely important, especially considering the kind of potential we have within our country, so that we are able to leverage it to further enhance our combat capability. And to that extent, I'll highlight a few issues. One, of course, is you wanted or you needed a single point contact or a nodal agency at the Army headquarters who must engage with the outside industry, academic institutes, and other stakeholders. And I'm referring to the Army Design Bureau, which in the last 2 to 3 years is now, I would say, in its fully formed shape or stage and doing very well. You also have certain other programs wherein innovation in technology is being encouraged in terms of IDEX initiative launched by the Ministry of Defense, under which we had total of 10 projects, out of which 9 work has already started. So there we see a lot of potential. We are also engaging with the leading academic institutes in the country. We already have a Indian Army cell in IIT Delhi. We plan to open 2 more such cells, one in IISc Bangalore and IIT Kanpur.
ये कहानी 1947 में जाती है सर। एक नया मुल्क बनता है पाकिस्तान। जो ऑफिसर्स हैं इंडियन आर्मी में, उनको ये बोला जाता है कि आप चूज करें आप कहां पे जाना चाहते हैं।
मेरे पिताजी जनरल सैयद मेहदी हसनैन उस वक्त कैप्टन जब आर्मी के अंदर आए थे तो फर्स्ट गढ़वाल राइफल्स में आए। प्योर हिंदू सोल्जर्स कम्युनिटी जो थी पूरी, उसमें एक अकेला मुसलमान। उनके कमांडिंग ऑफिसर ने उनसे पूछा, बंटवारे के अंदर आप क्या चाहेंगे, किसी मुस्लिम यूनिट के साथ, मुस्लिम रेजिमेंट के साथ पाकिस्तान आर्मी में जाने की? जवाब जो था बहुत जबरदस्त। मैंने सोच लिया मैं उस देश में जाऊंगा, मैं उस फौज में जाऊंगा जिसमें मजहब के लिए कोई अलग जगह नहीं है।
And here's a look at what else is making news this morning. In an interview to the RSS mouthpiece organizer and the Panchjanya, Mohan Bhagwat has said that Muslims have nothing to fear in India, but they must abandon their boisterous rhetoric of supremacy. While responding to Bhagwat's interview, the AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi said that Bhagwat must not preach, and it is Bhagwat who is furthering the Hindu supremacist narrative.
हिटलर को भी बड़ा अपना यकीन था अपनी आर्यन रेस सुपरमेसी का, और इसीलिए आप देखते हैं कि आरएसएस जो है शुरू से इस बात का डिमांड कर रही है कि भारत में जो फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर है इस कंट्री का, उसको ख़त्म कर दिया जाए।
The former Minority Affairs Minister and senior BJP leader Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi has hailed the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat's remarks on Muslims and said the spirit of partnership and not the battle to dominate leads to the path of development.
इस देश में आप दुनिया में रहने वाले 10 मुसलमानों में से एक मुसलमान हिंदुस्तान में रहता है। उसके सामाजिक, आर्थिक, शैक्षणिक, धार्मिक अधिकार पूरी तरह से महफूज भी हैं और मजबूत भी हैं, सुरक्षित भी हैं और सिक्योर्ड भी हैं। लेकिन वो दिक्कत मुसलमानों की नहीं है, दिक्कत मुस्लिम वोटों के ठेकेदारों और जागीरदारों की है। क्योंकि मुस्लिम वोटों के ठेकेदारों और जागीरदारों की जो जागीरदारी और ठेकेदारी है वो पूरी तरह से हिली हुई है।
The Air India P-Gate accused Shankar Mishra has said that his bail applications stated that he was unaware of the incident, that he urinated on a 70-year-old woman passenger allegedly, while adding that he was forced to speak to the victim by the crew and that he felt the matter was settled. He also calls his arrest illegal while questioning the Delhi police and called the episode
मजबूत और कारगर रहा है। हमने ये देखा है कि एडवर्सरी की तरफ से ये कोशिश है कि इन्फिल्ट्रेशन का प्रयास या उनका ध्यान या फोकस अब पीर पंजाल के साउथ वाले इलाके में, खास करके जम्मू इलाके या उससे नीचे भी पंजाब या आईबी के इलाके में ज़्यादा उनका ध्यान है। और जैसे आपने बताया, कई ऐसे केसेस या इंस्टांसेस हमने देखे हैं जिसमें कि उन्होंने ड्रोन के जरिए वेपन्स, एमुनिशन या फिर एक्सप्लोजिव को भी ड्रॉप करने की कोशिश की है। पर इसमें भी सेना और क्योंकि आईबी इलाके में ये बीएसएफ की जिम्मेदारी है, दोनों ने मिलकर कई इस तरह की कोशिशों को भी नाकाम किया है। और इस संदर्भ में खासकर हमने ड्रोन जैमर्स और स्पूफर्स कुछ मात्रा में शुरू में प्रोक्योर किए हैं और उसकी जो एफिकेसी या इफेक्टिवनेस है वो जो हमारे पास अभी रिपोर्ट्स आए हैं वो अच्छी पाई गई है। जहां तक राजौरी इंसिडेंट का आपने जिक्र किया, वो कोशिश भी हमारे एडवर्सरी की तरफ से यही रही है कि टारगेटेड किलिंग्स करे, माइनॉरिटीज को टारगेट करे, ताकि जो उनकी विफलता वैली एरिया में है, उनका विचार है कि साउथ ऑफ पीर पंजाल रीजन में उसको ज़्यादा अंजाम दें। अब जो 2-3 इंसिडेंट्स आपने बताए हैं, उसके फलस्वरूप सेना और सीआरपीएफ दोनों ने उन इलाकों में अपनी तैनाती, अलर्टनेस ज़्यादा बढ़ाई है। और दोनों जो टेररिस्ट इनिशिएटेड इंसिडेंट हम कहते हैं, उसके बारे में जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन अभी आप लोगों को ज्ञात है, वो एनआईए को सौंपा गया है ताकि उसके और कारण हम पता कर सके। पर साल के एंड में मैं आप लोगों को याद दिलाऊंगा, 2 और इंसिडेंट्स हुए हैं। एक सिद्धरा का, जिसमें कि 4 घुसपैठ और उनका ट्रक को इंटरसेप्ट करके उनको न्यूट्रलाइज किया गया। उसके बाद अभी कुछ दिन पहले मेंढर पूंछ के इलाके में भी एंटी इन्फिल्ट्रेशन ऑपरेशन में हमने और 2 टेररिस्ट को मार गिराया है। तो हमारा एंटी इन्फिल्ट्रेशन ग्रिड, काउंटर इन्फिल्ट्रेशन ग्रिड उसी तरह से सक्रिय रहेगा और इस तरह से जो प्रेशर है उसमें मैं आप लोगों को और आपके माध्यम से सबको विश्वास दिलाऊंगा कि उसमें कोई कमी नहीं आएगी। और निरंतर हमारे ऑपरेशंस, जवान पूरे मुस्तैदी के साथ एंटी इन्फिल्ट्रेशन ऑब्स्टिकल सिस्टम या फेंस पर और हिंटरलैंड में दोनों हम जारी रखेंगे।
Well, we're now cutting across to news that we are getting from West Bengal. According to sources, about 15 crore rupees have been recovered from the TMC MLA Zakir Hussain's house. His office and his rice and oil mills in Murshidabad district were raided by the income tax department, and in those raids, not just documents but also 15 crore rupees have been recovered. Now, just to tell our viewers that Zakir Hussain is the TMC MLA from the Jangipur Assembly constituency. He's also a former Minister of State for the Department of Labour for West Bengal. So 15 crore rupees have been recovered from his residence as well as his office and the rice mill and the oil mill that he appears to own. This is in the Murshidabad district that the raids were conducted by the income tax department. These raids, of course, were conducted in a case related to him having income that is disproportionate to his known sources of income. Kishale is reporting live on this. He now joins us from our Bangla newsroom. Kishale, give us more details to begin with of where these recoveries have been made, and we are told that even documents have been seized.
Well, exactly, Nupur. Another case of cash recovery, cash haul from West Bengal, and again a TMC MLA, ex-minister, has been involved in this. Zakir Hossain, who is the MLA of Jongipara district, Jongipara area of Murshidabad district. What happened was yesterday there was an IT raid in all his premises, properties, including his house, including his offices, and including his rice mills and the areas that he owned, the properties that he owned. And the total amount that's recovered by the IT team till now is 15 crore rupees, and still now the counting is going on. That's what we are hearing. So this amount can increase, and what we are hearing is all this amount is disproportionate, as you all rightly pointed out, and this amount has no proper source of income, and he could not yet show from where did he get this amount of money. So obviously there is a political uproar in West Bengal. Previously we saw Partho Chatterjee's house, Arpita Mukherjee's house, where a huge amount of cash was recovered in the SSC scams case. Then there was Anubrata Mondal case where multi-million rupees, scam of multi-million rupees were found in cattle smuggling and other cases. Now we see that another TMC MLA ex-minister also in the same soup, where 15 crore unaccounted money has been found and recovered by the IT team from his house yesterday, and still now the counting is going on. Nupur.
So Kishore, what you're essentially saying is that these were stacks of hard cash that were found, and the IT department is still trying to count the amount to be able to ascertain, how much. Is there any response that we are getting from Zakir Hossain on this yet?
Well, Nupur, yesterday Zakir Hossain did speak to the media. He said that I am cooperating with the IT team. Till that time, there was no money recovered. He said that I am cooperating with the IT team, but there is no money because I am not involved in any scams or anything else, any corruption. But later on, when the day passed and it was evening and later night, a huge amount of cash was recovered, and this team came out of the premises, different premises, including the rice mills, cotton mills, and his house and his offices in different locations, including his house in Murshidabad district. In all these areas, when the IT teams were coming out, they had those cash in trunks and they took that money back, and they are still counting. Also, we are getting to know that there are documents of different kinds that has been also taken away by the IT team and by the income tax department, which includes documents about the sources of these money, which are unaccounted and not being, these are not the money that he actually showed to the government, to the income tax department. So this amount of money, from where did it come from? Whether he was paying tax on this, obviously, which he was not. That's why the money is taken away. And from where did he get this amount of money, and with which corruptions he is involved in? That is what is being looked on right now. And also, the counting is going on, so this amount may increase in the future as the day goes on.
All right, so Kishore, of course, is bringing us those details of what happened in this. We are still awaiting to hear more from the IT department in terms of the recovery that's been made and the documents that have been seized. Kishore, thank you for joining us. News just coming in, we are now learning that a Hindu temple has been attacked in Melbourne. According to information that is just trickling in, we are learning that this alleged attack took place in Melbourne, and the police are, of course, investigating who did this, but allegations are pointing towards the fact that these were Khalistani supporters who may have vandalized the temple. Pictures on your screen have been accessed by Republic TV. Now, there appear to be pro-Khalistan slogans that have been written on this temple. Now, as I was trying to read these slogans, it does appear that it talks about Bhindrawale, and I'm going to confirm that, I think, from Abhishek Kapoor, our senior executive editor, who joins us on the phone line. Abhishek, good afternoon. Abhishek, it did appear that these were pro-Khalistan slogans that have been written on this temple. The police, of course, is investigating, but what do we know so far?
Nupur, this has happened yesterday. This has, as can be seen, has happened in Melbourne, and this is clearly an act of terrorism by the Khalistani elements in Australia. It's really sad and surprising that this fire is spreading to other nations. Earlier we also thought that this kind of audacity would be among the Khalistanis. It was limited to Canada, possibly because some level of indulgence by the Canadian establishment. But the fact that this has spread over to Australia is an area of concern. Our agencies obviously will be looking into it, but at the same time, the Australian authorities should be concerned that this is happening. This is a Swaminarayan temple, and it has been defiled and desecrated in support of Bindrawale. Calling him martyr is one thing, but then indulging in this kind of Khalistani supremacy on foreign land clearly indicates towards an element of terrorizing. We have seen Khalistani elements, getting emboldened in some pockets of Canada, but going to Australia is a matter of concern.
Absolutely. Abhishek, do stay with us. I think we've got Mr. Sirsa also on the phone line with us. Mr. Sirsa, these pictures obviously, are a little shocking because this attack has taken place in Melbourne. And now in these pictures, it's very clear that there are pro-Bhindrawale slogans that are, graffiti of those were painted on the walls of this temple. How do you see this?
See, we strongly condemn this kind of action on any holy place, whether it's a Gurdwara, Mandir or any other place, because these are places of worship and nobody got a right to spread this kind of a hate against each other. And this was the case back in 1980s also. The same thing happened in Punjab also. And that went so bad that then we have to pay a huge price for that. We have to pay for it. So I personally feel that the things which are going the way they are doing maybe in Canada or in Australia, or now we have seen in Melbourne also, that is very disturbing for all of us. And no Sikh would ever dare do this. Because in principally, no Sikh will ever thought of doing this. I don't know who are those people who are behind this. And if those people say that we are Khalistani, I think it's very shameful act by them. It's a very shameful act by them.
Right. Mr. Sirsa, would you expect perhaps the Indian government to write or to speak to the Australian government over this? Because it does appear that this, is being looked upon as an attack on the Hindu community, which is known to be extremely peaceful.
See, I'm not aware of that. Maybe government would have taken or would have spoken to their counterpart there, or the embassy would have taken this note of this action. But as I said, that definitely nobody has a right to do so, and definitely Indian government will take up this issue if they have not taken yet.
Right. Mr. Sirsa, appreciate your speaking to us on Republic TV. Let's go back to Abhishek, who continues to be with us on the phone line. Now, Abhishek, we are told that, this has shocked the Hindu community in Australia, given that it appears to be, an act of vandalism at the moment.
Obviously, it is an act of vandalism. It is aimed at intimidating, if not outrightly terrorizing Nupur. And I believe the community in Melbourne would, take some legal action and possibly police action. In a bit, we would be connecting with some people there on the ground, and possibly we'll have someone reporting live. But what is important is, Nupur, that this Khalistani fire really spreading out of Canada and onto other foreign territories, in this case Australia, is an area of concern. While we have seen a major crackdown happening on Khalistani elements within India and in some coordination in Europe, particularly in the United Kingdom, for example, we have seen a measure of protection and indulgence even coming in from the Canadian establishment, and it is hoped that the Australian situation does not start resembling Canada.
Right. Abhishek, do stay with us. Let's also go across to Mr. R.P. Singh, who joins us on the phone line. Mr. Singh, earlier on, reports like this used to come in from Canada, parts of the United Kingdom as well, perhaps, some parts of the US. But now that it's traveled to Australia as well, do you find it concerning and perhaps a little disconcerting for, the Hindu community over there, which is largely viewed as being extremely peaceful?
Well, ISI, under their plan of K2, Kashmir and Khalistan put together, they keep pushing Sikh for justice to do all such mistakes. But ultimately, these mistakes doesn't get ground here in India. But we'll appreciate the government of India should immediately take up the matter with the Australian authorities and ensure that whoever is responsible should be held, prosecuted under the law of Australia. But no such element should be allowed to radicalize or even for that regard to defecate or to vandalize any place of religion of any community for that regard.
Right, Mr. Singh, appreciate you speaking to us on Republic TV. Thank you very much for joining us. So, as we are hearing from political leaders, they see this as an act of vandalism. Perhaps there will be a move by the Indian government to speak to the Australian authorities about this. But what has been disconcerting has been the fact that we are seeing these instances of vandalism, of graffiti painted on walls across some cities now. And Abhishek, I just like your opinion on that as well. It's a little disconcerting, isn't it, Abhishek, when for someone who's living in these countries to wake up and see these pictures that essentially amounts to vandalism, to perhaps some amount of hate.
No, this is hate, separatism, vandalism, intimidation. Khalistani terrorism is a known fact. So this is just a beginning in that direction. We have seen criminal incidents, terror incidents happening from the Canadian soil and even some pockets of Europe, Nupur, and obviously the links go all the way back to the ISI. Sardar R.P. Singh was right there, the K2 project of Pakistan, Khalistan and Kashmir. And we have seen of late the ISI really leveraging the diaspora and trying to broaden the Khalistani separatist sentiment. We have seen the connections of the Khalistanis with the local gangs here. The Khalistani links to Sidhu Moosewala murder, for example, they are being investigated. We have seen a spate of specific terror incidents targeting the state in Punjab over the last 1 year, including targeting of the courts, including the targeting of the intelligence headquarters. Remember, in Chandigarh, there have been terror attacks in Ludhiana and Amritsar. So obviously, fomenting trouble along communal lines is a pet project of the Pakistani deep state, and by taking it to the diaspora, I think essentially the aim is to spread the communal poison far and wide. That's why I mentioned and underscored India really needs to leverage its very fantastic equation with Australia and make sure that this is really nipped in the bud, and the Khalistani tactics, which have really taken roots in Canada for decades now, do not spread to other nations.
Now, Abhishek, now that you're mentioning, the India leveraging its position with Australia, what is it really that the Indian government can do apart, from the fact that perhaps they need to very strongly voice their concern over what's happening in Australia? Because given the fact that, we've seen incidents of a similar kind reported from some parts of Europe, Canada, of course, very often we see these incidents being reported. How do you think that the Indian government needs to take this forward now?
Well, it is very clear that our government has to get in touch with their Australian counterparts through obviously the Ministry of External Affairs and our mission there, and I believe there would be a consulate given the Melbourne is one of the 4 major cities of Australia, and then from there on take it forward by way of whatever kind of crackdown the Australian agencies can do. Obviously, it would be a painstaking investigation. As of now, the primary initiative obviously rests with the Indian community there, because they have to at least lodge a police complaint, and then once that happens, there has to be a very methodical investigation into who carried out, who are these elements, from where they have come, what are their influences, who all they are connected with, and really a crackdown essentially on these elements, because remember, even the Australians should be concerned that this kind of poison is spreading in their land, and it would be in their own interest as well that this does not really take roots. We have seen so many terror and criminal incidents in Canada. Obviously, the Australians won't want that to happen, and Kanishka bombing clearly had a Khalistani link, and that was like in the 1980s. So it's not that. And there were many foreign nationals in that flight, ill-fated flight. So It's not that others have really not paid price of terror. Terror does not see nationalities, and no benign indulgence should be allowed at keeping any kind of short-term objectives in mind. So I think in that sense, I believe, given the kind of equation that we have with Australia, the authorities would be on the same page, and beginning with a police investigation in this defiling case, in the case of vandalism, a proper methodical investigation is in order, obviously in collaboration with Indian agencies, so that we also know who's doing this on foreign soil against our interests.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Abhishek, do stay with us. I think we've got Mr. Bagga also on the phone line with us. Mr. Bagga, pictures like this are coming, of this manner, have been coming in from other countries as well. But now it's Australia. As we've been talking, it's not just disconcerting, it's also extremely concerning what's happening, because, this hate against Hindus seems to be spreading, to other countries. How do you see this?
देखिए, जो भी लोग हैं न बल्कि हिंदुस्तान के दुश्मन है, बल्कि सिख धर्म के भी दुश्मन है, क्योंकि ये लोग वहां पे बाहर कनाडा में बैठ के, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में बैठ के, पाकिस्तान के इशारे पे, ISI के इशारे पे और दलाली के पैसे खाते इस प्रकार के कार्य करके न बल्कि हिंदुस्तान को तो बदनाम कर ही रहे हैं, सिख धर्म को भी बदनाम काम कर रहे हैं। इन लोगों का न सिख धर्म से कोई लेना देना है, न सिखों का इनसे कोई सहानुभूति है। मुझे लगता है ऑस्ट्रेलियन सरकार को कड़ी से कड़ी सजा देनी चाहिए, और भारत सरकार भी इसकी पूरी मांग करेगी अपना वहां पे ऑस्ट्रेलियन सरकार से, और ऐसी सजा मिलनी चाहिए कि आगे से कोई भी ऐसा व्यक्ति इस प्रकार की घटना करने से पहले 100 बार सोचे।
Right, Mr. Bagga, thank you for joining us. I'm going to go back to Abhishek on this one. Abhishek, we've been talking about how the Indian government perhaps needs to leverage its connections with these countries. But apart from that, Abhishek, what we're also seeing perhaps is a spread of this Khalistan, pro-Khalistan movement to other countries. And that is something that obviously, India will be concerned about.
I missed the last bit of question there because I was getting a call, but obviously it really goes beyond graffiti. It is definitely vandalism. It is intimidation. It is really beginning of a very uncomfortable situation insofar as the Indian diaspora in Australia is concerned, I believe, and we track these developments. This is the first such case coming out of Australia, and that's why, as I said, as much as India and Indian agencies should be concerned, even Australians should be worried that this is happening on their soil and should really make a major crackdown and nip it in the bud.
Absolutely. Abhishek, as you're pointing out, of course, for Australia also to see this kind of hate and this kind of vandalism is going to be concerning. Thank you very much for joining us, Abhishek, for that. And here's a look at what else is making news this afternoon. In fresh trouble for the Aam Aadmi Party chief Arvind Kejriwal, the Directorate of Information and Publicity has issued a recovery notice of 164 crores to Arvind Kejriwal and asked him to pay the amount within the next 10 days. After the Directorate of Information and Publicity's recovery notice to AAP chief Arvind Kejriwal, the BJP has come down heavily on the Aam Aadmi Party's government, saying AAP uses taxpayers' money. As the situation in Uttarakhand remains grim, the Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami visited Joshimath to closely monitor the ground situation. He announced an interim relief for the affected families and said that the state government is with the people of Joshimath. After the brutal crackdown on protesting farmers by the Nitish Kumar government, Bihar's leader of opposition has condemned the attack and said that it's complete Gunda Raj in Bihar. The Karnataka Home Minister, responding to Mangaluru cooker blast, has said that Shariq's family members are under the ED's radar. He further said that transactions between Shariq and his family are being investigated. Prime Minister Modi will visit Karnataka's Hubballi to participate in the National Youth Festival today. More than 7,500 delegates from different parts of the country will be participating in the festival. In a fresh development in the Ankita Bhandari case, the court has given a nod for a narco and polygraph test for the main accused Pulkit Arya.
Earlier, the court had postponed the verdict for 5 days. As the probe into the Delhi hit-and-run case widens, the Rouse Avenue Court will hear the accused's bail plea today. The court had sent all accused to judicial custody earlier. The World Health Organization has issued a product alert against 2 cough syrups made by an Indian firm that are potentially linked to the death of 18 children, in Uzbekistan. Contaminated food is served in West Bengal. A face-off between the BJP and the West Bengal government brews. Overnight rains bring more trouble for Uttarakhand. Cracks now seen in houses in Karnprayag as well.
Step into luxury, where grace blends with grandeur and design blends with innovation. As your stress is washed away and you're transported in the lap of luxury. Cure European bath lounges. Let time wait.
QS and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
And here's a look at what else is making news this morning. In an interview to the RSS mouthpiece organizer and the Panchjanya, Mohan Bhagwat has said that Muslims have nothing to fear in India, but they must abandon their boisterous rhetoric of supremacy. While responding to Bhagwat's interview, the AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi said that Bhagwat must not preach, and it is Bhagwat who is furthering the Hindu supremacist narrative.
हिटलर को भी बड़ा अपना यकीन था अपनी आर्यन रेस और सुपरमेसी का, और इसीलिए आप देखते हैं कि आरएसएस जो है शुरू से इस बात का डिमांड कर रही है कि भारत में जो फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर है इस कंट्री का, उसको ख़त्म कर दिया जाए.
The former Minority Affairs Minister and senior BJP leader Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi has hailed the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat's remarks on Muslims and said the spirit of partnership and not the battle to dominate leads to the path of development.
इस देश में आप दुनिया में रहने वाले 10 मुसलमानों में से एक मुसलमान हिंदुस्तान में रहता है. उसके सामाजिक, आर्थिक, शैक्षणिक, धार्मिक अधिकार पूरी तरह से महफूज भी हैं और मजबूत भी हैं, सुरक्षित भी हैं और सिक्योर्ड भी हैं. लेकिन वो दिक्कत मुसलमानों की नहीं है, दिक्कत मुस्लिम वोटों के ठेकेदारों और जागीरदारों की है. क्योंकि मुस्लिम वोटों के ठेके
The contractor has also not been named, sir, because you stated
you gentlemen, you are in a hurry. Yes, yesterday they have done. Wait for 24 hours.
संपूर्ण ग्रंथ पर टिप्पणी नहीं है, ग्रंथ के उस अंश पर टिप्पणी है जो संपूर्ण 85-90% लोगों को शिक्षा से वंचित करता है.
Top headlines at 12:30. Republic confronts Bihar minister who insulted Ramcharitmanas. Minister says, in fact, remains defiant, justifies his remarks.
Ramcharitmanas was a nafrat फैलाने वाला ग्रंथ. Was a grant that was spreading hatred. This is not a coincidence, it is a conspiracy.
BJP hits out anger among Hindu community as Bihar minister insults Ramcharitmanas. After UK and Canada, hate graffiti now scribbled on the walls of Hindu temple in Australia's Melbourne. Back-to-back 3 incidents of snake, lizard and rats found in midday meal, BJP alleges funds misappropriation. Overnight rains bring more trouble, cracks now seen in more houses and even in Kanpriak. All right, thanks for staying tuned to Republic. We start with Newsbreak coming in, where we are given to understand that Taliban is facing a cricket boycott as Australia has now withdrawn from the men's ODI series versus Afghanistan in March. So that's the Newsbreak coming in this hour, that Australia has withdrawn from 3-match ODI series against Afghanistan after recent Taliban announcement. Now, just to put this into context, remember how Taliban has barred women for working at non-governmental organizations. Not just this, women have also been barred from pursuing higher education in Afghanistan. So in wake of those restrictions that have been imposed on women by the Taliban leaders, it's a boycott of sorts that the Taliban is facing, with Australia now withdrawing from the 3-match ODI series against Afghanistan. So that's the latest coming in. The Australian cricket team that has decided to cancel their 3-match ODI series against Afghanistan in the UAE, as the Cricket Australia has decided to pull out after Taliban's diktat, barring women from working at non-governmental organizations and not allowing women to pursue higher education in the country. And joining us live right now is Ankit from the Mumbai newsroom. Ankit, put this into context for us, the kind of diktats that have come in by the Taliban leaders in Afghanistan. And in wake of all this, we are seeing that Australia has withdrawn from 3-match ODI series against Afghanistan.
Definitely, and it also worth noting, Samiksha, that Australia was to play Afghanistan in the UAE. It wasn't that it was supposed to travel to Afghanistan, because no one wants to go there right now because they still don't think it's safe, and it's not by any stretch of imagination. And so Afghanistan has been calling teams to play it in different parts of the world. In this case, the UAE. They were going to play a 3-match bilateral series in March. Now, there's not much at stake for Australia. There are match fees, but there is nothing sporting at stake because Australia has already qualified for the upcoming World Cup series. But they were going to play Afghanistan. This was an attempt because over the last few years, we've seen how Afghanistan has become a fixture in world cricket. However, they have in the last few years progressively or regressively banned in their own country women from taking up jobs in NGOs, women from lower school education, that is school education, primary education, and then after that from women studying in colleges as well. So effectively, the worst fears that people had about the Taliban when the US left it in August 2021 was that the same old Taliban repression of women that was witnessed in the pre-9/11, pre-2001 war on terror days would again make a return, and slowly but surely that appears to have been the case. This time the only difference is that the women are out in the streets and they are fighting it. There is international pressure, and now there is sporting pressure also. And so in accordance with this, it is that the Australian team has decided, and it's issued a statement, and it says, following extensive consultation with relevant stakeholders, including the Australian government, Cricket Australia decided that it is unable to proceed at this time with the upcoming ICC Super League 3-match men's ODI series between Australia and Afghanistan, scheduled for the UAE in March 2023. The decision follows the recent announcement by the Taliban of further restrictions on women and girls' education and employment opportunities and their ability to access parks and gyms. So it also notes that women are not allowed to play sports anymore in Afghanistan. Cricket Australia is committed to supporting growing the game for women and men around the world, including in Afghanistan, and will continue to engage with the Afghanistan Cricket Board in this regard. It thanks the Australian government for its support. So this is a move that Cricket Australia has made with the support of its government to make sure that there is pressure on Afghanistan to allow its women to go to schools, to colleges, to access parks and gyms, to play international sport in the same way that people and women and girls in the other countries all do. So they are not even going to travel to the UAE to play Afghanistan. And so this is the beginnings of a boycott on Afghanistan's cricket team as well.
Absolutely, Ankit, thank you for the moment. A big setback that has come in for Afghanistan, because let's not forget that cricket is the most popular sport in Afghanistan, and that is going to have a massive impact when we talk about the country, with Australia now boycotting in terms of participating in the 3-match ODI series against Afghanistan. For now, to more news break coming in. This one from Bihar, where a massive controversy has erupted over the statements that were made by the Bihar minister, where he made hateful remarks on Ramcharitmanas. Republic confronted the Bihar education minister, who remained defiant and said that he stands by his remarks. Remember, the BJP has also hit out at the Bihar education minister after his insinuating statements to Hindus. He made a controversial anti-Hindu comment. Let's listen in to that confrontation sequence and also play out that remark that was made by him earlier.
आपने रामचरितमानस को एक नफरत,
आप अपनी बात को फिर से सुधारिए। आप विवादास्पद आप कह रहे हैं, मैं कहाँ कह रहा हूँ?
नफरत का ग्रंथ आपने
मैंने नफरत का ग्रंथ नहीं कहा, नफरत का अंश कहा है। उस ग्रंथ में नफरत के अंश हैं। उत्तरकांड में लिखा हुआ है, अधम जात में विद्या पाए भयहु जथा ही दूध पिलाए। आप बताओ इसका क्या अर्थ है? कभी पढ़े हैं?
मैं तो नहीं पढ़ा, मैं तो नहीं पढ़ा, आप पढ़े हैं।
वही लोग बहस में लगे हुए हैं। जो पढ़ेंगे सब,
हम विवाद नहीं कर रहे हैं। साधु संत लोग बोल रहे हैं कि अपमानजनक है। मैंने तो नहीं पढ़ा है रामचरित। मैं ऑनेस्टली आपको बता रहा हूँ, आप पढ़े, मुझे याद है कल आप भाषण में दोहा में काफी बता रहे थे। लेकिन रामचरितमानस एक सेक्रेड ग्रंथ है, जैसा कि हिंदू धर्म के लोग मानते हैं, और संत लोग आपका विरोध कर रहे हैं इस बात को लेकर। भाजपा वाले भी विरोध कर रहे हैं।
संत लोग विरोध नहीं कर रहे हैं। संतों की पृष्ठभूमि देखिए किस बात की वो लोग विरोध कर रहे होंगे। कौन लोग हैं वो? क्या वो संत रायदास है? क्या वो संत पासवान है? क्या वो संत गुप्ता है? आप देखिए, क्या वो संत चौधरी है? क्या वो संत जायसवाल है? क्या वो संत शर्मा है? मतलब शर्मा, जो मेरा ये कहना है कि जो भी मैंने बात कही है, संपूर्ण ग्रंथ पर टिप्पणी नहीं है, ग्रंथ के उस अंश पर टिप्पणी है जो संपूर्ण 85-90% लोगों को शिक्षा से वंचित करता है। आज मोहन भागवत जी नागपुर से फतवा देते हैं कि शिक्षा से अहंकार बढ़ता है। क्या आपने देखा? आपने पढ़ा? ये बहस का मुद्दा बना।
रामचरितमानस को आप किस रूप में लेते हैं? आप ये
मैं रामचरितमानस के उत्तरकांड के उस अंश को का विरोध करता हूँ जिसमें लिखा हुआ है, धम्म जात में विद्या पाए भयहु जथा ही दूध पिलाए। मैं रामचरितमानस के उस अंश को लेता हूँ जिसमें लिखा हुआ, जे बरनाधम तेली कुम्हारा सपच की रात कोल कलवारा। बरन में नीच कौन कौन है? पहला नाम तेली का दिया है भैया। तेली, कार, कुम्हार, कोल, कलवार, आदिवासी, दलित पराधीन सारे वंचितों को कहा है। और मनुस्मृति का दहन क्यों किए बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर? बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर भारत भूमि के प्रथम छात्र हुए। ईश्वर किसी जाति के दास नहीं हैं। अगर जाति के दास होते, प्रभु परमात्मा जाति के दास होते, मालिक खुदा किसी जाति के दास होते, तब रूढ़िवादियों द्वारा, दकियानुसी विचारों द्वारा, यथास्थितिवादियों द्वारा बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर को वंचित समाज में पैदा किया गया। और जब वंचित समाज में पैदा हुए, वो लिखे हैं कि मैं किस जाति में पैदा हुआ हूँ उस पर मेरा अख्तियार नहीं है हिंदू व्यवस्था में, लेकिन मैं क्या स्वीकार करूंगा उस पर मेरा अख्तियार है। इसलिए भगवान बुद्ध जी को
क्या चाहते हैं कि जैसे
भगवान बुद्ध जी को स्वीकार, सुन तो लीजिए ना, क्योंकि आप भी मनुवाद लेके आए होंगे, सुनिएगा नहीं?
मनुवादी नहीं हूँ।
जी, आप मेरी बात सुन लीजिए। तो ये जो भारत भूमि के प्रथम छात्र जो अमेरिका के कोलंबिया विश्वविद्यालय पढ़ने गए, दूसरे लोग क्यों नहीं गए? एक से एक फतवा जारी करने वाले क्यों नहीं गए? जी काटने वाले क्यों नहीं गए? प्रथम छात्र जो लंदन स्कूल ऑफ
इकोनॉमिक्स कल भाषण में मैं सुन चुका हूं कि कोलंबिया यूनिवर्सिटी गए, जो
सुन लीजिए ना,
यूएस का बहुत बड़ा यूनिवर्सिटी है। ये बताइए कि
सुनने में क्या दिक्कत है?
मनुस्मृति और रामचरितमानस को जैसे कि बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर जी ने तिरस्कार किया, जलाया, तो क्या आप भी आग्रह करते हैं, आह्वान करते हैं सब लोगों से कि उसको तिरस्कार और जलाना चाहिए?
हूँ कि भगवान राम जी को सबरी का जूठ बैर क्यों खाना पड़ा? आप बात समझिए। भगवान किस जी को सुप्पन भगत डोम के यहाँ क्यों खाना पड़ा? ये दर्शन है कि जो अंश है जाति के नाम पर विषमता का, नफरत का, उस अंश को हटाओ।
मतलब आप रामचरित
आपने आशीष आपने पूछा कि क्या हमारे और एडवर्सरी के बीच में जो नंबर्स, आपने नंबर्स का जिक्र किया, मैं सिर्फ ये कहना चाहता हूं कि कोई भी सेना की क्षमता या इसमें सिर्फ नंबर्स पे निर्भर नहीं है, उसमें कई अलग अलग मुद्दे होते हैं। आपके जो लड़ाई की सामग्री है या वेपन सिस्टम इक्विपमेंट इज वन कंपोनेंट, उसके अलावा आपकी लेवल ऑफ ट्रेनिंग है, आपकी लेवल ऑफ मोटिवेशन आपके सोल्जर्स की, जो ह्यूमन रिसोर्स है मेरी समझ में वो भी उतने ही मायने रखता है। उसी तरह से इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और उसी तरह से वहां पर किस तरह की टेरेन अवेलेबल है। सो इट इज अ सम टोटल ऑफ ऑल दिस। सो आपको संक्षिप्त में यदि मैंने आपको प्रश्न का जवाब देना है तो मैं आपको ये आश्वस्त कराना चाहता हूं या फिर ये भरोसा दिलाना चाहूंगा, यदि कोई ऐसी जरूरत पड़ी या कोई ऐसी सिचुएशन आई तो हमारी सेना पूरी तरह से सक्षम है, सशक्त है, प्रबल है, और यदि कोई ऐसी सिचुएशन आती है उसका पूरी तरह से मैं समझता हूं रिस्पॉन्ड करने में पूरी तरह से तैयार है। और आपका प्रश्न था यूएन पीस कीपिंग के बारे में, और जो लीगल एक्शंस या इस तरह से इंजर्ड या जो वहाँ पर यदि जान गंवा देते हैं उनके बारे में उसकी क्या लीगल पोजीशन है, तो उसके बारे में मैं थोड़ा और मेरे को जानकारी हासिल करनी पड़ेगी। पर हमारे जब भी हम कोई डिप्लॉयमेंट करते हैं यूएन मैंडेट के तहत, तो इन सब चीज़ों का एडिक्वेटली हम ध्यान देते हैं, और साथ ही पूरा लीगल ओपिनियन करने के बाद ओनली व्हेन ऑल दीज एस्पेक्ट्स आर एड्रेस्ड डू वी कमिट आवर ट्रूप्स टू द यूएन। सो व्हाटएवर जो भी आपके मतलब मन में शंका या इश्यूज है वो मैं बताना चाहूँगा कि दे वुड हैव बीन एडिक्वेटली एग्जामिन्ड, या उसका सही मायने में सोच करके ही ये किया होगा। स्पेसिफिक जो आपका प्रश्न है आई मे नॉट बी एबल टू आंसर सिंस इट्स अ लीगल मैटर, दैट इज वन, बट आई कैन रिवर्ट बैक टू यू। जहाँ तक आपने जोशी मठ के बारे में पूछा, और मैंने शुरू में बताया जो भी हमारी वहाँ पे फैसिलिटीज़ है, जो भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, जिस मात्रा में या जिस तरह से हम मदद कर पाएंगे वहाँ पर स्थानिक प्रशासन की, हम पूरा करेंगे। और ऐसे सिचुएशंस में हमने पहले भी पास्ट में भी पूरी तरह से मानवीय या फिर प्राकृतिक आपदा का सामना करने में पूरी मदद की है, तो उसी की तरह यहाँ पर भी हम करेंगे।
Okay, we'll take the last set now. We've already exceeded time. We'll start with Sudhiranjan Sen, Bloomberg, Manas Bhuya, PTI, and Abhishek Bhalla, India Today TV. Yeah, please start.
Chief, Sudhiranjan from Bloomberg here, sir. Sir, given the background of Joshi Math, are you kind of doing some kind of a survey, assessment of your units, positions that are not only there in Joshi Math, but, strewn across the border, the northern borders, given the fact that there is such a sensitivity to the border right now? And if so, do you have an alternative plan? And will you kind of advise the civilian government that the military is taken more into confidence before building projects out there?
Okay, next question. Mic दीजिए यहाँ.
Sir, this is Manoj Bhuyan from PTI, Press Trust of India. Yes. Good afternoon, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
to at your left. This way.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Sir, do you think the Russian invasion of Ukraine actually added new complexities to India's long-term security challenges, as it could, there has been observations that it could embolden China to become more aggressive along the borders with India? And a quick second question about your predecessor, General Narawane's recent comments that, theaterization plan will not be prudent idea without enunciating the national security strategy. So how do you see the comments, sir? Thank you.
Okay, Abhishek Bhalla. Very good. Yeah, Abhishek, mic.
Good afternoon, sir. Abhishek Bhalla from India Today this side. So just a short question. Manesh has already asked the theaterization question that I wanted to ask. So I'll push in a simple question. A lot of thrust on women in the army. Is the army ready for having women in infantry and armored corps?
Yeah, that's all.
Yes.
Okay. So the first question in terms of the impact of the Russia-Ukraine conflict so I did mention that we've carried out a detailed analysis in terms of what lessons are there for us, right at the strategic level, at the operational level, or for us as military men at the tactical level in terms of the weapon systems, their operating procedures, tactics, etc. And we need to be sure that we have to contextualize as to whatever lessons they are, as to how applicable they are in our context. But in brief, we have assessed the impact, we have drawn out these lessons, and we will translate them, we will incorporate them, or we've already done it in terms of how, shall we say, relevance of the larger weapon platforms, relevance of non-kinetic domains such as cyber, space, or for that matter information warfare. Now these are some very profound issues, lessons that have come out of it. So yes, we are looking at all this and seeing as to how we can apply them in our context. Your question with respect to theaterization and the comments on what General Around said, I think it is not fair for me to comment, but to say that I think in the future, integrated and a tri-service response to meet our future security challenges is an imperative. And towards this, I think we need to get the right joint tri-services structures in place. And just to elaborate, you're looking at a theatre command as a single entity, looking after all security aspects, issues in a geographical area under one single commander. So I leave it here by just highlighting the importance of theaterization, but stop short of commenting on what my predecessor, his views were. And I think that would also answer another question which somebody else asked in terms of theaterization. But yes, amongst the three services, we are in the process of consultations, deliberations on issues related to the integrated theatre commands. And it's something which is currently under deliberation. And the last was with respect to employment of women in other arms and services. I mentioned to you, we have taken the first step, or one more step, not the first one, in terms of as to how we can, where we can employ women officers. In certain other arms and services, as we move forward, we will in due course take a decision on this.
Thank you, sir. We have now come to the end of the interactive session. May I request you all, Chief has another engagement. We already overshot by 18 minutes. We'll have, Mukesh will have to finish here. May I request you all to join us for lunch on the first floor, please? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for interaction. Thank you.
They're addressing a host of issues where he says that there is adequate force level available to deal with any situation, and that the deployment from the adversary side on the northern border continues in the same manner, going on to say that we have an equal number of troops on our side and that there is slight increase in the number of troops by China opposite our eastern command, but we are keeping a close watch. All right, To more news coming in, this one from Melbourne, where a Hindu temple in Melbourne was vandalized by Khalistani supporters. So the visuals on your screens of the temple vandalization, which was reported in Melbourne. There was graffiti and hate graffiti, in fact, that was scribbled on the walls of this Hindu temple in Melbourne. So the visuals there on your screens right now is from the Melbourne Hindu temple that was vandalized by Khalistani supporters. Now this is the Swami Narayan Mandir in Melbourne, in the northern suburb of Mill Park in Melbourne. The hate graffiti there, which you can see, that was scribbled on the walls of this Hindu temple located in the northern suburb of Mill Park in Melbourne. It's being said that Khalistani supporters are behind this attack and vandalization of the Hindu temple in the area. This is the Swami Narayan Mandir in Melbourne's northern suburb. So a Hindu temple there that was attacked and vandalized by Khalistani supporters in Melbourne, Australia, by Khalistani supporters. Members of the Hindu community, in fact, have responded strongly to this incident coming to light from Melbourne. We have Vishal Munga joining us live from Melbourne. If you can give us the latest you're picking up, it's being said that Khalistani supporters, backers are behind this vandalization which has happened in this particular Hindu temple. Give us more details.
Yes, indeed. I'm right now standing outside the Swami Narayan Mandir. Just behind me is the Swami Narayan Mandir. It's a Morta Bagh, and I can show you some other work that has been written. Hindustan. Now, the allegation is that the certain Khalistani groups have also written that Bhindranwala Zindabad, these kind of slogans have been painted on the walls of the Swami Narayan temple. We were talking to the officials of the Swami Narayan temple. They told us that basically the investigation is on, so that they can't speak upon it. But indeed, the leader of Swami Narayan Trust has asked people to calm down, but they're really concerned about their security. The larger issue here is the Khalistani people that are operating in Australia. Now, Australia, Canada, UK are considered to be countries which are very friendly and also really close to Indian government. But indeed, if you see, the Indian government has not put pressure upon the Australian government, and that is why the Australian government has not taken strict action against these Khalistani groups. I have one of the locals here with me. You've been representing the Hindu organization, these kind of refugees. Do you feel secure in Melbourne?
So far, Melbourne has been a very, very peaceful place, and whole Australia is a peaceful country. But when we see such kind of incidents, and it just shakes our belief that why the government is not taking any action for the safety, security, and that kind of approach of the community, that they are safe in the country. They should take some action that such forces don't flourish, and they never think that they can grow in such country like Australia.
See, it is all allegations that are really being leveled that these could be the work of Khalistani elements. Right now, the police is investigating the matter. The police has not narrowed down on someone, but indeed, if you talk to the people here, they are really concerned about their security. Now, rallies being taken up in Melbourne, not new that is happening. Right now, there have been a lot of work that has been going on by these Khalistani elements. They have been taking out referendum rallies, and the Australian government has not been doing too much. That is what the allegation of the Indian community is. The Indian Hindus say that Australian reply that this is a political society doesn't really satisfy them. They should take action against these people because they had killed Hindus during the period of terrorism in Punjab. Now, I've been reporting Punjab. There have been a lot of groups which had really operated in Punjab, and they had killed Hindu leaders during the days of militancy. But now, if you talk about this peaceful place, Melbourne has been very peaceful. But these Khalistani groups have been really taking out rallies in large number, mobilizing people in large number for referendum. They have been saying that the Indian government, they are trying to put pressure on the Indian government that the Indian government should really allow referendum in Punjab. We'll talk to some the Indian diaspora here. What do you think the Australian government should do now?
Now, Australian government should initiate the action on such kind of forces which are disturbing the peace of the city, peace of the country, and they should try to inculcate such kind of faith in the one community which are threatened by such forces that they are safe in the country.
Now, if you talk about the Mandir management, they say that they don't want to speak on camera, but they're really concerned about the security. They are helping the authorities to really narrow down that who did this. And Australia being a friendly country with India, it is highly likely that the Australian government should take a strict action so that a strong message can be sent to these.
All right, we'll try and connect with Vishal Monga again, but there Republic reporting live from Melbourne, Australia. In fact, right from outside that Hindu temple that was desecrated. The visuals there on your screens of that hate graffiti that was also scribbled on the walls of this Hindu temple. In fact, this is the Swami Narayan Mandir in Melbourne, which is located in the northern suburb of Mill Park area. The Khalistani supporters who attacked and vandalized the Hindu temple in Melbourne in the early hours. The visuals there in which you can see the hate slogans that are scribbled on the walls of the temple. We'll try and get more voices, but the the hate graffiti there in which you can see scribbled on the walls of this Hindu temple, which is the Swami Narayan temple, which is located in the northern suburb of Mill Park. It was allegedly vandalized by the Khalistani supporters. So the Hindu community there voicing their concerns and saying, in fact, talking about the kind of concerns this particular incident raises. But the visuals there on your screens in which you can see the Melbourne Hindu temple that was attacked and vandalized by the Khalistani supporters. All right, we'll try and connect with Vishal Monga again, who's reporting live from Melbourne, from outside that Hindu temple, which was desecrated by the Khalistani elements. But we're given to understand that it was vandalized in the early hours by the Khalistan supporters. So blatant display of religious hatred there towards the Hindu community by the Khalistani supporters, as is evident from those visuals there being seen. The visuals there in which you can see how this temple was vandalized by the Khalistani supporters is what we're given to understand, and the Hindu community there expressing their thoughts on this as a result of the blatant display as can be seen of the religious hatred towards the Hindu community in Melbourne. So anti-India graffiti there that's scribbled on the walls of this Hindu temple, which is the Swami Narayan temple in Melbourne. We'll slip into a very short break, but coming up on the other side, we'll get you the latest from Bihar, where the state minister insults Hindus, says Ramcharitmanas spreads hatred and later remains defiant. Big controversy breaks out over Bihar education minister's Hindu insult.
Step into luxury, where grace blends with grandeur and design blends with innovation. As your stress is washed away and you're transported in the lap of luxury. Cure European bath lounges. Let time wait.
After West Bengal, now Andhra Pradesh, Vande Bharat Express attacked in Visakhapatnam.
धर्म जाति में नीति के लोग विद्या पा करके जहरीला हो जाते हैं, कैसा? जैसा कि दूध पीने के बाद साफ हो जाता है।
Bihar Education Minister insults Hindus, says Ramcharitmanas spreads hatred. Big controversy breaks out over Bihar Education Minister's Hindu insult. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's mega visit to Polban, Karnataka, Prime Minister to inaugurate key events. Delhi hit and run case in court today to hear accused's bail plea.
ये कहानी 1947 में जाती है सर। एक नया मुल्क बनता है पाकिस्तान। जो ऑफिसर्स हैं इंडियन आर्मी में, उनको ये बोला जाता है कि आप चूज करें आप कहां पे जाना चाहते हैं।
मेरे पिताजी जनरल सैयद मेहदी हसनैन उस वक्त कैप्टन जब आर्मी के अंदर आए थे तो फर्स्ट गढ़वाल राइफल्स में आए। प्योर हिंदू सोल्जर्स कम्युनिटी जो थी पूरी, उसमें एक अकेला मुसलमान।
नहीं है, ग्रंथ के उस अंश पर टिप्पणी है जो संपूर्ण 85-90% लोगों को शिक्षा से वंचित करता है।
Republic confronts Bihar minister who insulted Ramcharitmanas. Minister remains defiant, justifies remarks.
Ramcharitmanas was a nafrat फैलाने वाला ग्रंथ, was a ग्रंथ that was spreading hatred. This is not a coincidence, it is a conspiracy.
BJP hits out anger among Hindu community as Bihar minister insults Ramcharitmanas. After UK and Canada hate graffiti now scribbled on the walls of Hindu temple in Australia's Melbourne. Back-to-back incidents, 3 incidents of snake, lizard and rats found in midday meal. BJP alleges funds misappropriation. Overnight rains bring more trouble. Cracks now seen in more houses and even in Karnataka. Alright, we start with the big news break coming in. This one from Bihar, where a massive controversy has broken out over the statements that were made by the Bihar minister, where he made hateful remarks on Ramcharitmanas. There is massive anger over the comments that were made by him. In fact, let's listen in first to that remarks that were made by the Bihar minister, where he said that Ramcharitmanas should be burnt like Manusmriti. He even went on to say that Ramcharitmanas promotes caste division in society and that worked to keeping 85% of the population backwards. Not just this, the Bihar Education Minister also said on Ramcharitmanas that it advocates keeping lower caste people illiterate. Let's listen into that soundbite and then we play out that confrontation sequence.
चंद्रशेखर जी, आपने रामचरितमानस को एक नफरत,
आप अपनी बात को फिर सुधारिए। आप विवादास्पद आप कह रहे हैं, मैं कहाँ कह रहा हूँ?
नफरत का ग्रंथ आपने
मैंने नफरत का ग्रंथ नहीं कहा, नफरत का अंश कहा है। उस ग्रंथ में नफरत के अंश हैं। उत्तरकांड में लिखा हुआ है, अधम जात में विद्या पाए भयहु जथा ही दूध पिलाए। आप बताओ इसका क्या अर्थ है? कभी पढ़े हैं?
मैं तो नहीं पढ़ा, आप पढ़े हैं।
वही लोग बहस में लगे हुए हैं जो पढ़ेंगे सब।
हम विवाद नहीं कर रहे हैं, साधु संत लोग बोल रहे हैं कि अपमानजनक है। मैंने तो नहीं पढ़ा है रामचरित, मैं ऑनेस्टली आपको बता रहा हूँ। आप पढ़े, मुझे याद है कल आप भाषण में दोहा में काफी बता रहे थे। लेकिन रामचरितमानस एक सेक्रेड ग्रंथ है जैसा कि हिंदू धर्म के लोग मानते हैं, और संत लोग आपका विरोध कर रहे हैं इस बात को लेकर। भाजपा वाले भी विरोध कर रहे हैं।
संत लोग विरोध नहीं कर रहे हैं। संतों की पृष्ठभूमि देखिए किस बात की वो लोग विरोध कर रहे होंगे। कौन लोग हैं वो? क्या वो संत रैदास है? क्या वो संत पासवान है? क्या वो संत गुप्ता है? आप देखिए, क्या वो संत चौधरी है? क्या वो संत जायसवाल है? क्या वो संत शर्मा है? मतलब शर्मा जो मेरा ये कहना है कि जो भी मैंने बात कही है संपूर्ण ग्रंथ पर टिप्पणी नहीं है, ग्रंथ के उस अंश पर टिप्पणी है जो संपूर्ण 85-90% लोगों को शिक्षा से वंचित करता है। आज मोहन भागवत जी नागपुर से फतवा देते हैं कि शिक्षा से अहंकार बढ़ता है। क्या आपने देखा? आपने पढ़ा? ये बहस का मुद्दा बना।
रामचरितमानस को आप किस रूप में लेते हैं? आप ये बताइए।
रामचरितमानस के उत्तरकांड के उस अंश को का विरोध करता हूं जिसमें लिखा हुआ है धम्म जात में विद्या पाए भयहु जथा ही दूध पिलाए। मैं रामचरितमानस के उस अंश को लेता हूं जिसमें लिखा हुआ जे बरनाधम तेली कुम्हारा सपच की रात कोल कलवारा। बरन में नीच कौन कौन है, पहला नाम तेली का दिया है भैया। तेली, कार, कुम्हार, कोल, कलवार, आदिवासी, दलित पर नहीं, सारे वंचितों को कहा है। और मनुस्मृति का दहन क्यों किए बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर? बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर भारत भूमि के प्रथम छात्र हुए। ईश्वर किसी जाति के दास नहीं हैं। अगर जाति के दास होते, प्रभु परमात्मा जाति के दास होते, मालिक खुदा किसी जाति के दास होते, तब रूढ़िवादियों द्वारा, दकियानुसी विचारों द्वारा, यथास्थितिवादियों द्वारा बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर को वंचित समाज में पैदा किया गया। और जब वंचित समाज में पैदा हुए, वो लिखे हैं कि मैं किस जाति में पैदा हुआ हूँ उस पर मेरा अख्तियार नहीं है हिंदू व्यवस्था में, लेकिन मैं क्या स्वीकार करूंगा उस पर मेरा अख्तियार है। इसलिए भगवान बुद्ध जी को
क्या चाहते हैं कि जैसे
भगवान बुद्ध जी को स्वीकार, सुन तो लीजिए ना, क्योंकि आप भी मनुवाद लेके आए होंगे, सुनिएगा नहीं।
मनुवादी नहीं हूँ।
जी जी, आप मेरी बात सुन लीजिए। तो ये जो भारत भूमि के प्रथम छात्र जो अमेरिका के कोलंबिया विश्वविद्यालय पढ़ने गए, दूसरे लोग क्यों नहीं गए? एक से एक फतवा जारी करने वाले क्यों नहीं गए? जी काटने वाले क्यों नहीं गए? प्रथम छात्र जो लंदन स्कूल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स
कल भाषण में मैं सुन चुका हूं कि कोलंबिया यूनिवर्सिटी गए, जो
सुन लीजिए ना,
यूएस का बहुत बड़ा यूनिवर्सिटी है। ये बताइए कि
में क्या दिक्कत है?
मनुस्मृति और रामचरितमानस को जैसे कि बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर जी ने तिरस्कार किया, जलाया, तो क्या आप भी आग्रह करते हैं, आह्वान करते हैं सब लोगों से कि उसको तिरस्कार और जलाना चाहिए?
हूं कि भगवान राम जी को सबरी का जूठ बैर क्यों खाना पड़ा? आप बात समझिए। भगवान किस जी को सुप्पन भगत डोम के यहाँ क्यों खाना पड़ा? ये दर्शन है कि जो अंश है जाति के नाम पर विषमता का, नफरत का, उस अंश को हटाओ।
मतलब आप रामचरितमानस या मनुस्मृति में जो जाति व्यवस्था और वर्ण व्यवस्था के बारे में लिखा गया उसके खिलाफ हैं आप?
जी,
उसके खिलाफ है?
मैं सीधी बात करता हूँ कि
नहीं, उसके खिलाफ है।
मेरी बात सुन लीजिए ना, रामचरितमानस हो या मनुस्मृति हो या गोबलकर का बंच ऑफ थॉट हो, इसमें जातियों के खिलाफ जो विसंगति का अंश है उसको काट के हटाना चाहिए।
अगला सवाल है कि बिहार में जातीय जनगणना हो रही है, आपके नेता नीतीश कुमार और तेजस्वी यादव जाति गिनवा रहे हैं, पूरे सबके घर में जाति गिनने के लिए आएंगे लोग। आप बोल रहे हैं जाति व्यवस्था खत्म होनी चाहिए, तो आप जाति क्यों गिनवा रहे हैं? जाति क्यों गिनवा रहे हैं?
मेरी बात सुनिए, मैं मजबूत कंधे वाले से कहना चाहता हूं कि जातियों के नाम पर जो हजारों साल से दमित है, पीड़ित है, शोषित है, उसके उत्थान का अवसर कब होगा? मजबूत कंधे वाले, अगर ऐसा नहीं होता तो आचार्य नरेंद्र देव जी उच्च श्रेणी के कुलीन पंडित में पैदा होकर के समाजवाद नहीं करते। आचार्य जेवी कृपलानी साहब उसके अनुयायी नहीं होते। आचार्य डॉक्टर लोहिया जी वो भी ऊंचे कुल में पैदा हुए। गरीबों की बात क्यों किए? वंचितों की बात।
जाति गणना ठीक है, जाति
आपको सुनने का धीरज नहीं है? आप तो पूरी बात सुन लीजिए ना। एक फहरिस्त है, लंबी फहरिस्त। जिसको देश की चिंता है वो सबकी चिंता करेगा, जो सबकी चिंता करेगा 90 को काटेगा नहीं। इसलिए 100 में 90 लोग अगर वंचित आज भी है, आज भी जीतन राम मांझी मुख्यमंत्री, आपको हिम्मत है तो चलाइए, मैं नहीं समझता हूँ आपको हिम्मत है। जीतन राम मांझी मुख्यमंत्री बनकर के मधुबनी के दुर्गा मंदिर में गए पूजा करने, किसने उसको गंगा जल से धोया? वही मेरे जी काटने का फतवा जारी करते हैं।
नहीं, लेकिन आप समाजवाद की बात करते हैं, 35 साल समाजवादियों की सरकार रही, तो क्या आपको नहीं लगता कि समाजवादियों ने उत्थान नहीं किया पिछड़ी जातियों का? अगर उसी का
आप कहना क्या चाहते हैं? आप मनुवाद सीख करके आए हैं, यही हमसे बोलवा चाहते हैं?
मनुवादी
मैं यह कह रहा हूं कि आज के तारीख में 6 साल नहीं हुआ है।
आप 2 तरह की बात कर रहे हैं साहब। आप मनुस्मृति में जाति व्यवस्था के खिलाफ बात कर रहे हैं, फिर जातीय जनगणना करा रहे हैं।
पढ़ कर क्या है? आप भी जी काटने वाले लोगों में से हैं। मैंने भी जी काटने वाले लोग पक्का है। आप मेरी बात धीरज है तो बात सुन।
आप सत्ता में आके, सत्ता में रहकर आप, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि कुछ भी बोलकर निकल जाइएगा।
सत्ता में आ रहे हैं तो समानता की बात करने के लिए जातीय जनगणना की जा रही है। जो हजारों साल से काट के रखे गए हैं उनको सम्मान कब मिलेगा? और मजबूत कंधे वाले आप आगे आओ। अगर देश को बचाना चाहते हो, देश को ताकत बढ़ाना चाहते हो, तो आप निश्चित रूप से ये ज्ञान की भूमि बिहार है, ये दर्शन का काम करेगा।
So there you heard the Bihar minister who continues to stand his ground over the remarks he'd made earlier where he likened the Ramcharitmanas to the Manusmriti, even went on to say that it advocates keeping lower castes, people illiterate. A lot of reactions coming in, the VHP as well as the BJP condemning such remarks that were made by the Bihar minister. Let's listen into those reactions.
I believe that it arises from ignorance. Ramcharitmanas has been the binding force for the Hindus amongst the diaspora, spread all around the world. The Girmitiyas, the persons akin to a bonded labor, when they went to foreign lands, they took Ramcharitmanas with them. And the Ramcharitmanas has been their link with the motherland and the Hinduism. There are specific stories in Ramcharitmanas, particularly his friendship, Ram's friendship with the Nishad Raj. When Nishad Raj comes to touch the feet of Rama, the Ram stands up, spreads his hands and invites him for a close hug. Nishad Raj is hesitant. He refers to his lower caste. The Ram replies that he does not believe in the high and low of the caste, pulls him close and hugs him close. When he goes to Shabari, Shabari refers to her caste. Shabari refers to being a woman. Ram does not accept both contentions. He calls Shabari as Bhamini and mother. So therefore, the Ram's story is the story of a closeness, of rising above the caste and other differences, rising above the tribes and other differences. Nishad Raj is a friend of Ram. Sugriv is a friend of Ram. And he says regarding both of them, Tum mam priye Bharat sam bhai. So not only a friend, but also a brother, a relative, as valuable as Bharat, as valuable as Lakshman.
But it's quite unfortunate, sir, that this is not the first time that such statements have been used by these opposition leaders. Earlier also some such similar sort of statements have been used. And
Alright, moving on to more news break coming in. This one from Tamil Nadu, where it's yet another escalation in terms of a face-off between the government and the governor. Latest, we're given to understand that the DMK delegation team has approached the President, Draupadi Murmu, and has even submitted a memorandum over Governor R.N. Ravi. So that's the latest coming in. The DMK delegation submitting a memo to the President, Draupadi Murmu. So the DMK delegation having arrived at the Rashtrapati Bhavan to submit the memorandum against the Tamil Nadu governor. So yet another escalation in terms of the face-off we've been seeing between the Tamil Nadu governor and the government. Varshini is joining us for the latest on that. Varshini, if you can take us through the details of this memorandum that has been submitted by the DMK delegation to the President, Draupadi Murmu.
Definitely, yes, Amiksha, the DMK delegation from the state, including the DMK's MP TR Balu, who has been heading the team from the Delhi, and also people from Tamil Nadu as well, including MP A. Raja, NR Ilango, and also MP Wilson, who is also a legal advocate for the party. And also these people have gone to Delhi, and the Law Minister Raghupati from the Tamil Nadu State Cabinet took a memorandum and presented it to the President of India, Draupadi Murmu. They had sought for a meeting, an appointment for the past few days. They have been trying to get an appointment. Today at 11:45 a.m. they had submitted this memorandum from the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, M.K. Stalin himself, regarding the Governor R.N. Ravi. And we know that for the past 1 week, the issues, the tussle between the Governor and the government has been intensifying day by day. And now they have submitted a memorandum regarding the issues that went on in the Tamil Nadu State Assembly on the first day of this particular session with the governor's speech. So it is a detailed letter signed by the Chief Minister himself, and it is a closed covered letter that they have submitted to the President. And the President's official Raj Bhavan's Twitter page has also tweeted about the DMK delegation meeting the President and speaking to her about the governor and requesting for an immediate action. As of now, we do not have a proper answer whether to, as they asked for recalling the governor or asked to her to help with moving forward between the good relationship between the government and the governor in the state, but we don't have official confirmation on that. But there is a memorandum, detailed memorandum submitted to the president herself regarding the governor. This is definitely a bigger escalation in this tussle that we've been seeing for months now, which has now escalated to a new high with the delegation team, submitting a memorandum about the governor and his actions in the state.
Right, Varshini, thank you for the latest on that. So, Varshini, giving us the details of this memorandum that has been submitted by the DMK delegation to President Draupadi Murmu against the governor. And a big news break coming in. Exclusive videos that we've accessed of Myanmar striking the rebel camps. So the Myanmar there bombing the CNA camps near Mizoram border. Sources even telling us that the CNA camps on Mizoram border have been struck and that 5 members of the CNA, which is the CNA, are dead in the strike. As per sources, 3 bombs exploded in the rebel camp near the Mizoram border. So that's a strike there by Myanmar, airstrike there by Myanmar. Near the border area of Mizoram. The first visuals on your screens right now of Myanmar targeting the rebel camps in the border area of Mizoram. 12 have been injured while 3 fatalities have been reported is what we're given to understand. Just a little more of what we know so far. 5 bombs we're given to understand dropped in the CNA camp in the Mizoram border. 3 bombs exploded and no civilian or military casualties on Indian side. However, 5 fatalities in the CNA camp and 12 injuries on part of the CNA camp. The visuals on your screens of Myanmar, they're targeting the rebel camps in the border areas of Mizoram. 12 injured and 5 fatalities that have been reported on side of the CNA. But the latest also coming in that the CNA cadres have dispersed outside the camp and have taken shelter in bunkers. We'll try and go across to Aniruddha for more details on that. But what we're given to understand right now is that it's an airstrike by Myanmar on the rebel camps near the Mizoram border. There have been no casualties on the Indian side, but on part of the CNA camp, 5 fatalities and 12 injuries have been reported. Also be given to understand that the CNA cadres have taken shelter in bunkers. We have Aniruddha joining us live. Aniruddha, take us through the details you're picking up as far as these Myanmar airstrikes are concerned. We're given to understand no civilian or military casualties have been reported on the Indian side.
Yes, in fact, the Myanmar junta army is heavily bombing very close to the Indo-Myanmar border. Though no bombing has taken place on this side, that is on the Indian side of the border, we are getting to know that Sindh National Army camps are being bombarded through Myanmar military jets. The first bombing took place on January 10th, that is day before yesterday, and yesterday also at around 4 p.m. Inside the Myanmar territory at several camps of the Sindh National Army bombing have taken place. In fact, though no casualty have been reported on this side of the border, there are casualty in Myanmar. We are getting to know that around 17 camps of the Sindh National Army has been destroyed by the Myanmar junta army, and in this attack 12 people have been 12 militants in fact of the Sindh National Army cadres were injured, including 2 children, and there are 5 fatalities in the Sindh National camps. Army camps are being reported. The sources in the Indian army who are deployed along the border have also confirmed to us that no movement of CNA troops to this side of the border, that is to the Indian side, have taken place, and the Indian security agencies guarding the Indo-Myanmar border in Mizoram is keeping a tight vigil in order to ensure that no cadres of the Sindh National Army can infiltrate to take safe passage to India. the Sindh National Army have been waging a war against the Myanmar military junta army, and as part of the military regime in Myanmar, they are trying to clear off all the insurgents group which are waging war against the Myanmar government. And as part of this camping by the Myanmar junta army, they have started bombing the camps of the rebel groups very close to the Indo-Myanmar border in Mizoram. Samiksha.
Aniruddha, stay with us, and just to give our viewers a recap of what we know so far, as Aniruddha is telling us, those are the visuals we are getting of the airstrikes on part of Myanmar to strike the rebel camp. We're given to understand no civilian or military casualties have happened on the Indian side. However, on part of the CNA camp, 5 fatalities and 12 injuries have been reported, whereas the latest also coming in that the CNA cadres have currently have dispersed outside the camp and have taken shelter in bunkers. So it remains to be seen how worrying it is a situation, because these airstrikes have happened very close to the Mizoram border. Sources even saying that 3 bombs exploded in the rebel camps. So it's the headquarters of the Chin National Army that was targeted by Myanmar, in which 5 fatalities and 12 injuries were reported, but none on the Indian side. Also remember that the rebel camp is located very near to the Indo-Myanmar border, which is primarily a concern. So we'll try and get more reactions, in fact more details on the latest we are picking up. Aniruddha, of course, continues to be with us. Aniruddha, how worrying is the situation as of now? Has the situation been contained? Any more airstrikes that are expected in the next few hours as well?
Yes, Samiksha, in fact, as far as today is concerned, so far no airstrike has been carried out today. But yes, the last airstrike was carried out yesterday at around 4 p.m. In another camp of the Sindh National Army. But that airstrike was very much inside the Myanmar territory, not very close to the Indo-Myanmar border. However, the one airstrike of which we are running this visuals that we can see on our television screen, that airstrike was carried out on 10th of January, and that airstrike was carried out very, very close to the Indo-Myanmar border in Mizoram.
Yes.
Hardly around...
Stay with us, Aniruddha. I'm sorry, I'll have to interrupt you for just a moment. We have Brigadier Hemant Mahajan also joining us. Brigadier Hemant Mahajan, just to tell you about the latest we know so far. It's an airstrike that has happened on the border area very close to the Mizoram. It's an airstrike on part of Myanmar, in which we are given to understand 5 fatalities have been reported of the CNA camp. But in your view, how worrying is it a situation? Because these airstrikes have happened very near to the Mizoram border, in which the rebel camp has been targeted by the Myanmar side.
The situation is definitely very alarming, in the sense that what has happened is these camps are near the borders, near the Indo-Myanmar borders, and the Burmese Air Force or the Myanmarese Air Force is not known for their professionalism. So when they carry out a strike, it is not as if they carried out a strike with a precision-guided missile or something. It is a bombs that are dropped on the targets, and the inaccuracy of the strike is hell of a lot. And therefore, not only they attack, what they want to attack is those groups which are against the Myanmar government, but instead of that, it causes a lot of collateral damage by, let's say, causing damage or causing casualties to the civilians who are there, innocent people who are there, and worse still, maybe something falling towards our side of the border also, where our population is right on the Myanmar border also, and they are also suffering some casualties in the bargain. So while the Myanmar government or Myanmar Air Force is not trying to target the Indians in Mizoram or Indians on the Myanmar border, but because of their inaccuracies of the Air Force fire and the incompetence of their pilots, collateral damage on the Indian side is definitely taking place. I think there's a need to tell the Myanmar government that they should not strike targets so close to the border. Unfortunately, what happens is there are a lot of groups which are acting against the Myanmar government, and the Myanmar army simply does not have the capability to carry out any attacks on the camps which are located in the jungles, So therefore, they find it easier and much simpler to attack from the air, where they have an approximate location of those camps, and then they target it from the air, something exactly like what the Americans used to do in Afghanistan. but that is not very good purely from our point of view, and definitely people in Mizoram will also get endangered by such strikes.
Brigadier, just stay with us. In your view, what do you think should be the next course of action on part of Indian side? But stay with us. Before I come back to you, we have Major General G.D. Bakshi joining us. Sir, good afternoon. In your view, how alarming is the situation? These are airstrikes that have happened by Myanmar on the Indo-Mizoram border, in which rebel camps have been targeted. No casualties on the Indian side, but yes, definitely a worrying situation on the border side.
Well, Myanmar has usually been very cooperative with India on the issue of tackling insurgents, whether of Indian origin or those who direct their activities against the Myanmar government. This is a new kind of an escalation in which when they have been unable to target the camps on the ground by ground action, they have resorted to airstrikes. And these airstrikes are very close to our border. So that to an extent spells out danger, because there is that zone, in which the tribals are allowed to move close to the border. And it could have led to Indian casualties. So I do think they should have shared this information with us. I am not sure as yet whether they did. And they should have, alerted the Indian side on this, impending bombing offensive kind of a thing. But I suppose since they haven't transgressed the Indian border, things are all right from that point of view. But definitely this has a chance of inflicting collateral damage to the civilian population. And definitely it would not be acceptable on the Indian side, though we do hope that this was coordinated with the Indian side. I'm not sure about that because we are still awaiting information on that aspect. Hello?
Well, in fact, these are the latest developments coming in. For the first time, in fact, Camp Victoria has now been targeted. Remember, what is essentially happening, perhaps even Samiksha Anirudh can come in. Essentially, it is the pro-democracy forces which are now being targeted by the military junta. Not to forget that this was a military coup that was done back in February 2021. But essentially, under a larger banner, all of them are now trying to come together and fight the military junta. Now, what is important to point out here is that this is very close, as General G.D. Bakshi was pointing out, closer to the Mizoram border. And Anirudh, who's also been speaking to the locals there. Now, there is, a sense of fear, given the fact that this is very close to the border. And, the rebels have set up their own camp. The Chin National Army's Camp Victoria has been targeted for the first time. And this is not very far, barely about few kilometers away from the Indian border. So that is the reason why for the locals in that area also, it's been a sense of fear. And also the fact that these camps that have been targeted in a series of camps, in fact, some of the visuals that have now been accessed by Republic TV, which is right now on your screens, this happened sometime on Tuesday afternoon. On Tuesday afternoon, a series of bombings that have actually taken place, and this is for the first time you're looking at these aerial strikes. In fact, some of the international publications have actually spoken to the rebel commanders, and the rebel commanders have been speaking about the fact that there is a sense of fear that the military junta exactly has because of the larger banner that has basically come together. The democratic forces in Myanmar, they have basically joined hands, and a number of these groups have basically come together. And these, what you're seeing right now, these are training camps which have now been targeted by the military junta. So it's going to be important to see whether at all there's going to be some sort of a reaction coming in from the Indian side. It's unlikely at this point in time. We really haven't heard about it. In fact, we had this information sometime late last evening, but we were waiting for some sort of confirmation to come in from the Indian side, whether there's going to be some sort of a reaction from the Indian side. It looks at this point in time that it's going to be a wait and watch policy that is likely to be adopted by the Indian side at this stage. But when we speak to the locals on the ground to get a sense of it, a lot of locals have essentially said, they could hear the bombing. It was not really far away. These are the very places where, on the Indian side that a lot of local work laborers are there. The daily work actually goes on, and that gets affected primarily because they are fearful that some part of it would actually land on the Indian side also. Let me once again bring in General G.D. Bakshi. General G.D. Bakshi, it's important to point out here that the rebel commanders who've spoken to multiple international publications are saying that the military junta in Myanmar seem to be quite afraid of the fact that the democratic forces are basically joining hands. The training is actually taking place, and they're fearful of their own position.
Well, certainly they would be, because the Myanmarese junta is now playing rough, in the sense that they are resorting to aerial attacks and bombing of these camps. This Victoria camp, this Chin camp that you are mentioning, has been targeted for the first time. Its strength is possibly a little too much for the Myanmar armies to tackle. So they have started attacking from the air. That runs the concomitant risk of collateral damage to Indian civilians, because the border is demarcation in the jungle is not so easy and not so marked. Easily you could have an overflight or, a miss. Some of the bombs could land in Indian territory, endanger Indian nationals. To that extent, the proximity of the border is a matter of concern, that the attacks have taken place in the proximity of the border. But I do not think the Indians will really launch a very major protest, because the Indian border has not been transgressed, number one. And the attacks are on the Myanmari side. The Myanmarese junta, though we always support democratic forces, but the fact of the matter is that real politics dictates that we have no option but to go along with the Myanmarese military junta, because otherwise we found that China was making very major inroads into Myanmar. And it's only that we were able to reverse the situation when we sort of accepted the realpolitik and sort of went beyond the ideological prism of democracy versus authoritarianism. Because we have to be pragmatic. We have to be pragmatic in these matters, and we have to see that Myanmar doesn't slip into the influence of the Chinese entirely, as they were very, very, very dominant in Myanmar. They had more or less, because the world was ostracizing the Myanmarese military junta, the Chinese were the only people who gained. Now, therefore, we had to take a pragmatic decision to deal with the junta, because those are the facts on the ground. They are in charge in Yangon, and therefore we have no option but to deal with them. And of late, we were able to, wean away the military junta in Yangon from the Chinese. In fact, they were worried about the Chinese influence growing overtly in their territory, and they had made overtures and outreach to India, which we reciprocated. We have been providing the Myanmarese army. I remember from my time, we had supplied them artillery and, complete artillery units with the trucks and artillery guns. We had given to them to win them over, wean them away from China. That factor will have to be kept in mind. You just can't go and treat the Myanmarese junta as a hostile neighbor, because they have been cooperative, they have been friendly, and it is essential that we keep them away from the Chinese. The moment you get into democracy versus authoritarianism, I'm afraid you just help to push the Myanmarese junta into the arms of the Chinese, which I don't think we would like or can afford.
Right. J.D. Bakshi, thank you very much for putting this into perspective. Let me also quickly go back to my colleague Anirudh, who's been tracking this very closely. In fact, Anirudh has also spoken to some of the locals there. Let's bring in Anirudh right now for the latest developments. In fact, we've also got some more visuals coming in of the damage that has basically taken place on the Indian side. Anirudh, you've spoken to some of the activists there. I'm given to understand, because I did actually connect with someone at the Mizoram government to get a sense of it. Now, they are basically trying to indicate at this point in time that it's very unlikely that they are going to make any sort of a reaction, but they're trying to ensure that they assuage the fears of the locals in Farkwan. That is the area where this has largely been targeted. Have you been able to speak to anyone in Farkwan area, because that's the place which seems to have been affected? In fact, we also put out the visuals of the truck that on our side that was basically damaged, and this is parked near the Tiao River. It's near the Tiao River where this truck was parked, and you see the extent of damage that has basically taken place. Over to you, Anirudh. What is it that you're picking up from the locals, specifically from the Farkwan village council?
Yes, Awan, as far as the reaction of the locals is concerned, we are getting to know that though no major damage has been caused because of the airstrike on the Indian side, but yes, one vehicle which was moving close to the border along the road that passes through the Indo-Myanmar border, a truck was partially damaged because of the splinters, or you can say because of the ravises that came out because of the bombardment. We are also getting to know, Sawan, that as far as the governments, both the state government and the central is concerned, no one has come out with any official statement as of now. But yes, sources in the government, in the state government of Mizoram has also told us, and also central security agencies has told us that what the government of India is trying to ensure is that no fresh influx from the Myanmar side takes place towards Myanmar, towards Mizoram because of this strike.
Yeah, that's the other concern. Yes, that's a very important point that you've highlighted. The fear is also the influx of Myanmaris towards the Indian side. I'll request you to stay on, because I'm also told that Brigadier Rumel Dahiya is joining us on this broadcast. Brigadier Dahiya, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV. You understand the area very well. Just to put this into perspective for our viewers, this bombing, the aerial bombing that has basically taken place, is very close to the Farkwan area in Mizoram. And when we've spoken to the locals there, they say that it was barely few kilometers from where they're living, and that's the reason why there is a fear. There's a fear that if the bombing basically continues, it could also land on the Indian side. Some of them actually are also coming on record to say that it has fallen on the Indian side. Put this into perspective, the area for our viewers outside the state of Mizoram.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on this. First of all, there's an Assam Rifles picket at Khobong, which is, as the crow flies, is about 7 kilometers from Farkwan. And there's another village on the left of Farkwan, which is called Wafai. From Wafai, there's a kacha track which goes across the river, goes into Myanmar. So we carried out this, Operation Golden Bird there in 1995, and we deployed exactly there, amongst one of the other places. We were deployed at Farkwan and Wafai, and we've been getting support from Khobong. So first of all, the area is a little tricky in the sense for operations point of view, because it is wooded mostly along the Tui River. And Tui River is absolutely dry during summers, and it can be easily crossed in any case, except for the rainy season. It can be crossed at any time. And there is frequent movement of civilians across, basically for exchange of goods. For example, salt goes from here, and some other things might come from there, including drugs at times. So that's a very active kind of very active kind of place, movement. And why this, the Chin National Army was dormant for quite some time, and there used to be two factions of it, CN Roger and another CNF. So there were two of them. Now, they were dormant for quite some time, but after this Aung San Suu Kyi government was dismissed, thereafter they have started supporting the People's Resistance Movement. So they have camps, and it's well known to everybody in the country that the Mizoram government wanted to sort of provide humanitarian assistance to people fleeing the military junta assault. And the central government wasn't very keen on having those people because relationship with Myanmar is a very important facet of our neighborhood policy, and we did not want China to make further inroads into Myanmar. So therefore, situation is a little difficult, and obviously, Myanmar has sometimes said that these Chins also come across the border and settle down over there, but not now. I remember that in early 90s, they used to have some small camps nearby, but thereafter we haven't permitted. In fact, last year there was a bit of a movement of Chin, and our Assam Rifles had gone and pushed them out. They had not permitted them to keep, and some people from Mizoram were a little unhappy about it. But despite that, we said we do not want to be on the wrong side of it as far as the junta is concerned. We wanted their cooperation in the international elements of ours operating from Burmese soil. But it's a very dicey. Yeah, please.
Brigadier Daya, I'll just request you to stay on with us. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we are also joined by a local social activist, Jonathan, who's joining us on this broadcast. Jonathan, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV. The reports that we are getting in right now, Jonathan, especially from the Farkwan Village Council, is that, there was also, the bombs that were dropped closer to the Indian side. What is it that you are picking up from the locals? If you can try and put this into perspective for us to understand, when was it that first you heard about the bombings? What is the current situation like on the ground?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, so although the target was obviously the CNA camp, which is right across the border, but the fact remains that India side, Mizoram side also was bombed, right? And there were visuals which you have showed as well. There were damages on, on the fields, and fortunately, people were not there in their fields and things like that, so there were no casualties. But the fact remains that India side, Mizoram side, was also bombed. So this was very clear. There are visuals about it. There are, people from Farkwan villages who have witnessed that as well. And so it's a very big deal because, yes, the target by the juntas would be the CNA camp, but the fact remains, and I repeat, India side, Mizoram side was bombed.
Jonathan, also with regards to the fear that the government essentially has, because when I spoke to some of the officials in Mizoram government, they are right now, the bigger concern is the influx of Myanmaris towards the Indian side. Any reports that you're picking up right now with regards to that situation, the possibility of the influx, given the fact that this bombing could actually continue? Because I'm now given to understand some of the international publications are saying that the plan of the Myanmari junta at this point in time is to basically carry on with the target, especially of the People's Defence Force. The PDF is largely being targeted. So this could actually continue. Could you throw more light on what's really happening with regards to the influx? Are you getting any reports of that nature?
The influx of the refugees will definitely increase because of this bombing. And further report states that, the junta's ground armies have also gone into the Chin state, the nearby areas as well. So our fellow brethren, they obviously have to, come to Mizoram because for fear of what is going on there. Right. So it is quite obvious that the influx of the refugees will definitely increase because of this bombing and further actions by the juntas. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Jonathan, for putting this into perspective. We'll try and go across to you in a short while from now. We'll try and bring you live on our program to get a sense of what's really happening on the ground, because there appears to be a sense of fear at this point in time, at least for the locals. But what's important to point out here is that there is a renewed activity from the side of the Myanmar junta at this point in time. Let me once again go back to Anirudh. Anirudh, Jonathan, who was speaking to us a short while back, also made it very clear that in the influx of refugees in all likelihood would actually go up. Is there anything else that you're hearing from the Mizoram government at this point in time in order to try and evacuate the locals who are basically closer to that area? Have they been moved to another location? Is there any details that you're picking up from the Mizoram government?
Yes, in fact, Sawan, the stand of the Mizoram government as far as the seen refugees is concerned, they are always open for the refugees from Myanmar, and they had also apprised the center several times, in fact, that the center should actually open up for the gates of Indo-Myanmar border so that the refugees of Myanmar, basically the seen stage, can take shelter in Mizoram. But the center has been focusing more on the issue of ensuring that no fresh influx happens from that side of the border, and we are getting to know that though several rebels actually tried to push into the Indian side on 10th of January, that is on Tuesday, when the first airstrike was carried out very close to the Indo-Myanmar border. The efforts were not successful, as the Indian security agencies who are guarding the border had been succeeded in pushing them back. Sawan.
Okay. Anirudh, just a quick response also now coming in from Mr. Subir Bhaumik, senior journalist who's joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Bhaumik, it's appearing that for the military, for the Myanmar junta at this point in time, that the aerial strikes is becoming a part of their ruthless campaign, for a crackdown on the pro-democratic forces in Myanmar. The fact that Camp Victoria has been targeted for the first time, the fact that the PDF is now being targeted, it does appear that there is a sense of nervousness within the military junta because they want to somehow try and consolidate their power.
There is no question of consolidation. The military junta is on its back foot. They have attacked number of rebel bases. First, there was a massive strike on the Kachin Independence Army, one of their celebrations up north on the China border 3 months ago. Now they've attacked, they have, strafed and then bombed the CNF, Chin National Front camp, and now they're attacking the PDF camp, which is shared jointly with the PDF and the Chin National Front camp Victoria. So air power, Myanmar air power, is the only guarantee against a complete runover by rebel forces in some part of the country. As you know, in the Rakhine province, the Arakan army controls almost 2/3 of the area de facto. Same is the position in Kachin areas. In the Chin areas also, the rebels have got a lot of ground. They have gathered a lot of ground, and the Burmese military is clearly on the back foot. And this has actually led to severe criticisms in the West. The U.S. is actually considering enforcing, if it gets UN clearance, a zone over Myanmar to facilitate, rebels movement. And then prevent the Myanmar. This is something like they enforced over Bosnia.
Right.
And that is the reason senior defense officials from U.S. have been visiting Bangladesh, because to enforce a new fly zone, they need quite a bit of support from both India and Bangladesh if they have to do it in the Bengal. So the situation is getting really murky. The Chinese will definitely try to stop something that the U.S. is planning. So Myanmar, not only is the military clearly on the back foot, and the rebels have gained ground in a lot of places, which is why they're rampantly using air power, but it's also becoming a flashpoint for international power contest.
Mr. Bhaumik, thank you very much for putting this into perspective. There's absolutely no doubt about the fact that there is, the military junta is being caught in that fear of the revival of the democratic forces in Myanmar. Whether at all there is a Chinese link to it is something that we'll have to wait and watch. And also the response really coming in from the Indian side. So far, the Indian side has been completely tight-lipped. We've tried getting in touch with the Mizoram government, but no one is right now on record speaking about the current situation. Most of these reports are now coming in from the locals with whom Anirudh and myself we've been talking to get a better sense of. We'll try and get you more reports in a short while from now about the situation on the ground. Over to you, Shivangi.
All right, thank you, Shravan, and thank you, Aniruddha, for getting us all the details. The Myanmar has actually struck a rebel camp, and this rebel camp is near the Mizoram border. This is the CNA camp which has been struck by Myanmar. We'll be, of course, tracking the story very closely on Republic TV. Thank you, Shravan and Aniruddha. Taking a very short break right now, viewers, on Republic TV. Much more coming up on the other side as we track stories. The BJP now hitting out anger among Hindu community as Bihar minister insults Ramcharitmanas. Overnight raids bring more trouble. Cracks now seen in more houses and even in Joshimath. Stay tuned.
एक आपने कॉन्सेप्ट दिया जी जनाब का.
I don't ever want to claim anything which is not done by me. I only cast my mind back to what General Patinkar and General Nirbhay Sharma had done. What I did was that I took the Ji Janab. Ji Janab was not about saying Ji Janab to everyone. It was just a symbol, a name given to an operation to say, understand the Kashmiri environment, understand the culture, understand the sensitivities.
ये कहानी 1947 में जाती है सर. एक नया मुल्क बनता है पाकिस्तान. जो ऑफिसर्स हैं इंडियन आर्मी में, उनको ये बोला जाता है कि आप चूज करें आप कहां पे जाना चाहते हैं.
मेरे पिताजी जनरल सैयद मेहदी हसनैन उस वक्त कैप्टन जब आर्मी के अंदर आए थे तो फर्स्ट गढ़वाल राइफल्स में आए. प्योर हिंदू सोल्जर्स कम्युनिटी जो थी पूरी, उसमें एक अकेला मुसलमान. उनके कमांडिंग ऑफिसर ने उनसे पूछा, बंटवारे के अंदर आप क्या चाहेंगे, किसी मुस्लिम यूनिट के साथ, मुस्लिम रेजिमेंट के साथ पाकिस्तान आर्मी में जाने की? जवाब जो था बहुत जबरदस्त. मैंने सोच लिया मैं उस देश में जाऊंगा, मैं उस फौज में जाऊंगा जिसमें मजहब के लिए कोई अलग जगह नहीं है.
And here's a look at what else is making news this morning. In an interview to the RSS mouthpiece organizer and the Panchjanya, Mohan Bhagwat has said that Muslims have nothing to fear in India, but they must abandon their boisterous rhetoric of supremacy. While responding to Bhagwat's interview, the AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi said that Bhagwat must not preach, and it is Bhagwat who is furthering the Hindu supremacist narrative.
हिटलर को भी बड़ा अपना यकीन था अपनी आर्यन रेस सुपरमेसी का, और इसीलिए आप देखते हैं कि आरएसएस जो है शुरू से इस बात का डिमांड कर रही है कि भारत में जो फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर है इस कंट्री का, उसको खत्म कर दिया जाए.
The former Minority Affairs Minister and senior BJP leader Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi has hailed the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat's remarks on Muslims and said the spirit of partnership and not the battle to dominate leads to the path of development.
इस देश में आप दुनिया में रहने वाले 10 मुसलमानों में से एक मुसलमान हिंदुस्तान में रहता है. उसके सामाजिक, आर्थिक, शैक्षणिक, धार्मिक अधिकार पूरी तरह से महफूज भी हैं और मजबूत भी हैं, सुरक्षित भी हैं और सिक्योर्ड भी हैं. लेकिन वो दिक्कत मुसलमानों की नहीं है, दिक्कत मुस्लिम वोटों के ठेकेदारों और जागीरदारों की है. क्योंकि मुस्लिम वोटों के ठेकेदारों और जागीरदारों की जो जागीरदारी और ठेकेदारी है वो पूरी तरह से हिली हुई है.
The Air India P-Gate accused Shankar Mishra has said that his bail applications stated that he was unaware of the incident, that he urinated on
Viewers, getting some breaking news coming in. Reports suggest that 3 Liberal MPs are visiting the Swami Narayan temple at 11:30 a.m. This is after the reporting on the temple being desecrated in Melbourne. Hindu temple in Melbourne was attacked and vandalized by Khalistan supporters. So viewers, getting some details. Liberal MPs to visit the targeted temple in Melbourne. And coming on the back of a Hindu temple in Melbourne, which was allegedly targeted by Khalistan supporters. Now, this incident has sent shockwaves to the Indian diaspora of the Australian city. Also, we are coming to know that the walls of the Swami Narayan Mandir in the suburb of Mill Park were vandalized allegedly by Khalistan supporters. And you can see those visuals on the screen as well, viewers, as phrases like Hindustan Murdabad were written. And viewers, getting some more details coming in. Many eyewitnesses have also said that they have seen this incident transpire, and they have witnessed the vandalization of the walls of the temple when they visited the site in the morning on Thursday, that is today. All right, let's take a very short break, viewers. We continue to be live and breaking on India's #1 news channel, Republic TV. Back-to-back 3 incidents of snake, lizard and rats found in midday meal. BJP alleges funds misappropriation. And overnight rains bring more trouble. Cracks are now seen in more houses and even in Karnataka. Stay tuned.
एक आपने कॉन्सेप्ट दिया जी जनाब का.
I don't ever want to claim anything which is not done by me. I only cast my mind back to what General Patilkar and General Nirbhay Sharma had done. What I did was that I took the Ji Janab. Ji Janab was not about saying Ji Janab to everyone. It was just a symbol, a name given to an operation to say, understand the Kashmiri environment, understand the culture, understand the sensitivities.
And here's a look at what else is making news this morning. In an interview to the RSS mouthpiece organizer and the Panchjanya, Mohan Bhagwat has said that Muslims have nothing to fear in India, but they must abandon their boisterous rhetoric of supremacy. While responding to Bhagwat's interview, the AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi said that Bhagwat must not preach, and it is Bhagwat who is furthering the Hindu supremacist narrative.
हिटलर को भी बड़ा अपना यकीन था अपनी आर्यन रेस सुपरमेसी का, और इसीलिए आप देखते हैं कि आरएसएस जो है शुरू से इस बात का डिमांड कर रही है कि भारत में जो फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर है उस कंट्री का, उसको खत्म कर दिया जाए.
The former Minority Affairs Minister and senior BJP leader Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi has hailed the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat's remarks on Muslims and said the spirit of partnership and not the battle to dominate leads to the path of development.
इस देश में आप दुनिया में रहने वाले 10 मुसलमानों में से एक मुसलमान हिंदुस्तान में रहता है. उसके सामाजिक, आर्थिक, शैक्षणिक, धार्मिक अधिकार पूरी तरह से महफूज भी हैं और मजबूत भी हैं, सुरक्षित भी हैं और सिक्योर्ड भी हैं. लेकिन वो दिक्कत मुसलमानों की नहीं है, दिक्कत मुस्लिम वोटों के ठेकेदारों और जागीरदारों की है. क्योंकि मुस्लिम वोटों के ठेकेदारों और जागीरदारों की जो जागीरदारी और ठेकेदारी है वो पूरी तरह से हिली हुई है.
The Air India P-Gate accused Shankar Mishra has said that his bail applications stated that he was unaware of the incident, that he urinated on a 70-year-old woman passenger allegedly, while adding that he was forced to speak to the victim by the crew and that he felt the matter was settled. He also calls his arrest illegal while questioning the Delhi police and called the episode a media trial. The Delhi court has rejected the order on the bail plea of Shankar Mishra, accused of urinating on a woman co-passenger on the Air India flight. The Delhi police challenged a magisterial court's order.
ग्रंथ पर टिप्पणी नहीं है, ग्रंथ के उस अंश पर टिप्पणी है जो संपूर्ण 85-90% लोगों को शिक्षा से वंचित करता है।
Viewers, Republic confronts Bihar minister who insulted Ramcharitmanas. Minister stays defiant, justifies comment.
Ramcharitmanas was a nafrat फैलाने वाला ग्रंथ, was a ग्रंथ that was spreading hatred. This is not a coincidence, it is a conspiracy.
BJP hits out anger among Hindu community as Bihar minister insults Ramcharitmanas. After UK and Canada hate graffiti now scribbled on the walls of Hindu temple in Australia's Melbourne. Army chief in his annual address says border situation with China is stable and under control, yet unpredictable. Back-to-back, 3 incidents of snake, lizard and rats found in midday meal. BJP alleges funds misappropriation. Overnight rain brings more trouble. Cracks now seen in more houses and even in Prayag. Viewers, we're live and breaking this Thursday afternoon. I'm Shivangi Shukla getting you all the top updates. Now we're getting in some news right now and some breaking updates coming in. The protest in Buxar, a day after brutality on farmers. That's right, viewers. Protests and anger against the Bihar government in Buxar. Remember on Wednesday, a violent protest was witnessed in Buxar after angry locals vandalized and set ablaze the police vehicles. The locals alleged the policemen in the middle of the night barged into the farmers' homes and brutally assaulted them in the middle of the night. And the visuals coming in on your screen right now, the protests are happening in Buxar as we speak. The visuals of that on the screen on your right. On your left, you see the brutality in Buxar. This is what happened yesterday. Yesterday, the police cracked down on those farmers. Now, the police crackdown has been happening for a while now. When these policemen, they forcefully enter the house of the group of farmers that had been protesting and thrashed them with canes while they were sleeping. The police even hit the family members of the farmers present at the home, and the police then arrested 3 youth from the village. So we are seeing that the protests continue in Buxar over what happened in retaliation to the police brutality as well, viewers. And we're getting back-to-back updates at this point of time, viewers. And a short while back, BJP Sushil Modi has slammed the Bihar government. The BJP leader alleged that the police barged into the farmers' homes and assaulted them and said that the action was wrong. So Sushil Modi has said it's a very unfortunate incident. The police should not act with sense of revenge. Going to somebody's home at midnight and doing a lathi charge is not right. They are farmers, not criminals. Such policemen should be sacked. So this is a response coming in from the BJP, viewers, where we are seeing that the Bihar cops thrashed these farmers. And right now we can see that visuals on the screen coming in. Now these visuals are of the protests which are happening after brutality on the farmers. We're getting back-to-back updates right now, viewers, on Republic TV. And viewers, this is also a case of compensation which the farmers are demanding. Let's go to Aishwarya Kapoor, our executive editor, politics. Aishwarya, right now we are seeing that they protest in Buxar, and this is coming in after, the kind of brutality these farmers have seen. All they were asking for was compensation. All right, viewers, we'll go to Aishwarya Kapoor very, very soon, but we're getting some more breaking news coming in. Right now, viewers, as we keep tracking this story. This is coming in from Bihar, where anger continues. All right, let's go ahead to more breaking news coming in. Now what we're learning, viewers, a road has caved in Bengaluru near Brigade Road. One person has been injured. I repeat, one person has been injured, viewers. We're getting some back-to-back updates coming in after we told you about this pillar which has fallen into a young mother and her son, and they both lost their lives. We're seeing one more case of civic apathy come out from the IT hub of India, Bengaluru. This time, a road has caved in Bengaluru near Brigade Road, and what we know so far, viewers, what we know so far, one person has been injured. The visuals you see on your screen is of that road, and you can see that the road has caved in. It has made a kind of a hole on the road. One person has been injured. Now we have come to know that this one person is a biker. Now this one person is a biker. Getting some details coming in slowly as we get you all the top updates on the story. The biker was injured after the road caved in. We're getting those visuals coming for you from Bengaluru itself, and we are seeing back-to-back cases of civic apathy from Bengaluru, viewers, from Bengaluru. And now, the latest coming in, a road has caved in, viewers, right now, and this is not the first time. Bengaluru keeps suffering from road accidents. The citizens there, they have been complaining of road accidents, of potholes, of such incidents coming in back to back, and no solution in sight. Let's go to Prajwal. Prajwal is joining us as well. Prajwal, take our viewers through exactly what happened. One biker injured after the road caved in, and we can clearly see that is a huge hole. Anybody can fall into that hole. Now this biker is injured. Take us through all the details we're learning.
It is being understood that this particular sinkhole, this particular road caved in somewhere between 11 to 11:30 is what we understand. And this has happened at the Shule Circle near Brigade Road. And this is one of the most important junctions because this also connects to the BTM layout, Adgodi, Kormangla, and the Banarghata main road as well. And it is in the central business district of Bengaluru. It is in the center of Bengaluru, and this is very shocking. And now, according to sources, they are blaming the metro work for the road to
Prajwal, I'm coming back to you. As you collect more details for our viewers. I just want to go across to Brinda Adige, who's joining us on the phone line. Activist, thank you for joining us. We are seeing, and we have been seeing this story come again and again after a young mother and her small son, 2.5-year-old, lost their life. We're seeing that one more case has come in. This time a road has caved in, and the big question is that who will take responsibility? When will these road accidents stop in Bengaluru?
These road accidents are not going to stop because nobody is fixed with any kind of a responsibility or no accountability. By the time a case is registered, we'll have to have all of you media houses to relentlessly continue to pursue it, because of which they will file a case. It is not that they will file a case as a right that something like this has happened and somebody has got hurt. Everybody will have blame games. All the political parties, the ruling regime as well as the opposition party are worried about a lot of other things. Love jihad, Tipu's book is coming, Tipu's coming or going away. All of those, but nobody is worried about the citizen who pays their taxes today, whose lives are getting lost. No accountability fixed. Nobody is going to bear any kind of penal action. We need to have a law passed or an ordinance immediately in the assembly so that all who are responsible register, FIR is registered against all of them.
Right. And Brinda Adige, as we keep reporting on the story, and Republic TV has been at the forefront of raising this issue of civic apathy, the question again comes out that when we see politicians, they are sparring over issues like Tipu Sultan. What about civil issues? What about civic issues? What about issues like these? Do you think it's time the politicians also stand up and they take notice of what the people of Bengaluru really want?
Absolutely. That is why we voted them into power. That is why we pay our taxes, so that they will govern, not go on having all of these fates which are not only irresponsible but irrelevant. It does not concern us citizens whether Tipu is there or Tipu is not there. What concerns us are roads, potholes, sewage, clean drinking water. Instead of that, what these people are up to is absolutely irrelevant subject which does not matter to the citizens. And until and unless these people accept that a case has to be registered and accountability has to be fixed on everybody, from the contractor, engineer to the person who allowed and passed the tender to be given to so-and-so person, all of them, because we all know politicians are involved in all of these tenders that are being passed or not passed. So everybody must be named in the FIR, and the courts must have the gumption to sanction permissions to prosecute all of these. Nothing less than criminal negligence.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, Brinda Adige, activist, for joining us. And let's go back to Prajwal. Prajwal, you were telling us about the incident which transpired. Go ahead and tell us a timeline of this incident. What happened? What time did it happen? And what is the condition right now of that biker who was injured?
Now it is being learnt that this particular road has caved in near Shule Circle this morning, and according to the hospital, according to the sources, they are stating that the biker has already been admitted to the hospital and is undergoing treatment as of now, but we still do not know as to what his exact condition is as well. And apart from that, now the BBMP is also to be held responsible for this, because the maintenance of the roads as well as the maintenance of the roads and the amenities falls on to the Bengaluru civic body, the Bruhat Bengaluru Mahanagara Palike. But seems like the authorities are yet to come to the spot, and they have barricaded off this entire road as well. And partly you have only about 25% of movement on this particular road. So this is causing a lot of traffic congestion too, is what is being reported. The traffic marshals there, along with the police, along with the Bengaluru cops, were the ones who immediately rushed to the spot and started barricading this entire portion of the road, and nobody is being allowed near this road. We get to understand that this sinkhole is at least around 3 to 3.5 feet in depth and around 4 feet wide as well. So all said and done now, why this careless attitude by the BBMP as well, and the BBMP engineers? The BBMP commissioner now and again has been summoned by the Karnataka High Court, and despite the High Court cracking whip on the Bengaluru commissioner, now and then the BBMP commissioner now and then comes up with promises and deadlines stating that all the potholes will be filled within 10 days, 12 days, 15 days, or else within 1 month. But so far, none of them have been answerable to this. When we also spoke to the revenue minister, he stated that such incidents happen only during the rainy season. But now, right now, in Bengaluru at least, we're not seeing any rains for the past 40-45 days now. But why are the works going so slow? And we are also seeing a lot of potholes too. Earlier today, when we also conducted a reality check too, we saw that there are several potholes across the city, and mainly now the roads near the metro construction sites are being more vulnerable, more being prone to it as well. And now the foundation of the soil is being questioned. How is the soil? How is the layer beneath these particular construction sites where the metro has taken construction, and whether there has been no sort of proper survey that is being conducted over here? And this is one best example where this particular road has caved in near a metro construction site. So many questions are being posed in, and many of the civic authorities are involved in this. But who is going to take accountability for this is something which needs to be answered as well, because there seems to be a lackadaisical attitude by the government of Karnataka so far. And every time when we also question the chief minister, who's also the Bengaluru development minister, he says that we need to have patience. But till when will the citizens of Bengaluru have patience here? Because more and more innocent lives are being lost.
All right, viewers. All right, Prajwal, I'll come back to you. We're getting some first reactions coming in of Junior NTR's first reaction on the RRR win. Just want to go take our viewers to that reaction coming in. Viewers, this is a big breaking we're getting for you. And remember that it was a remarkable day for Indian entertainment industry when RRR had created history. The Globe, the song, in fact, Nadu has won the Best Original Song at the 80th Golden Globe Awards, a first for any Asian song. Let's play that out, the reaction.
Before I get into the Golden Globes, you all know what a rage RRR has created in the West, especially in America, and how big a hit it was in Japan as well. Well, yesterday the Globes happened, and for one of my favorite music directors, Mr. Kiravani Garu, has won the prestigious award for Nadu. Kiravani Garu has just not been a music director, but has been a very, very, very close member to the family. He's given some amazing songs throughout my career. I would like to first of all congratulate him for winning this prestigious award. It really, really, really makes me very proud as a fellow Indian that India has, not only Kiravani Garu, but India has achieved this award. Having said this, all this has been possible with the affection, the love you all Indians have given us. Call it the film fraternity, the Indian film fraternity. Call it the journalists, the Indian media, Indian journalists, family, friends, and most importantly, fans. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for all the affection you have caressed on RRR and made this achievement possible. Thank you so much.
All right, the first reaction coming in right now, viewers of Junior NTR, and let's go, in fact, to what we are tracking right now. Now, this story is coming in. This story is coming in from Melbourne, where a Hindu temple was allegedly targeted by Khalistan supporters, sending shockwaves to the Indian diaspora of the Australian city. The walls of the Swami Narayan Mandir in the suburb of Mill Park were vandalized by an unidentified group with phrases like Hindustan Murdabad. And viewers, in fact, many eyewitnesses have also said that they witnessed the vandalized walls of the temple when they